I'm also called Red. My pronouns are whatever pronouns you feel most comfortable using. I'm pronoun indifferent. Um, I started this channel a while ago now, mostly just to talk about stuff so that I don't have to annoy my spouse with these topics. I took a little break for a while, and then this stuff with Jimmy Snow started coming up again, or coming up, I guess, and becoming more and more kind of in my face. And I felt like I couldn't stay silent about it anymore. So I said, hey, let's talk about this stuff. And that's kind of where I decided to come back to my channel from. Um, and recently, Jimmy released this video yesterday. That is his apology video. Now, I haven't seen the entire video. Brina Price was doing an awesome live stream of it last night when I had to go to bed, so I didn't get to see the whole thing. And it looks like she removed it this morning, so I'm a little bit upset about it. So I haven't seen all of Jimmy's video because let's be frank, I didn't really want to give him the views. So I was happy to watch Brina's like stream of it rather than watching Jimmy. But like I said, it is gone this morning, and I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. It was really good though, so I was kind of sad. I'm an old person and I had to go to bed, but it's 7:30 in the morning here now, and I'm awake and I had my breakfast, and I figure let's go ahead and watch it ourselves and discuss it a little bit. So if you have seen Brina's live stream, I'm sure I'm going to be repeating some of the things that she said because like she was completely on point with a lot of stuff. And I wish I could like give you a link to that so that you guys could go and watch her stream as well. Um, she might be doing an edited down version of it to put on YouTube. And if that is the case, when I upload this one to YouTube, I will try and include that in the description. Um, Stella, if you are watching this, yes, I did see your message in chat, which is what prompted me to go check my email again, and I did see my email, so I responded to you there. If you are seeing this, but besides that, hello, Jimmy. I didn't realize that he was gonna watch my previous live stream. So if you're watching this one, hi. Um, I would say I didn't mean to offend you, but like at the same time, like if you were offended by some of the things that I said, like maybe you should have been. I Yeah. There's a couple things we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it because I know it's he actually brings them up in the video. So a couple of people were like, "Hey, like he mentions things that you said in your video," and I don't know if he's talking directly about me and stuff that I said, or if there were other people who were like saying the same type of things. Because, like I said, I found Brina through this. I found a couple of other YouTubers through this, and turns out I'm not alone with what I'm saying, which is like, huh? Go figure. Go figure, right? There's lots of us. So I was glad that he addressed some of this, but it doesn't from what I've seen, and again, I've only seen it's like an hour and 18-minute video, I think, and I've seen less than 30 minutes of it. Um, I'm not quite sure what the timestamp was when I had to log off of Brina's live stream last night. Because our live streams always end up being longer than the original video, and y'all know how it goes. Y'all know how it goes. Keeping that in mind, I am going to speed up his video to, should we do 1.75 speed? I don't know if I can do, I did 1.5 speed last time and that seemed all right. I don't want to do 2 times speed. I personally watch everything at like 1.75 speed or 2 times speed, but I think that's a little bit fast for some people. Let me turn up desktop audio. You know what? I'm going to leave it at 1.5 speed for now. And if I get like super where like my eyes are bugging out of my head, we might speed it up a little bit more. But let's check out this apology. I didn't see all of Brina's stream like from the beginning, so I haven't seen the beginning of the video, and I was just kind of like in and out on it. Um, like I said, it looked really good. Like her live stream looked really good, and I was excited to take a look at it this morning. I got up like, my normal getting up time, and I was like, "Oh yeah, let me find that live stream and figure out where I left off." And then gone, gone. Which also to the Jimmy Snow fans who are watching this, hi. I appreciate you coming by, giving me the views. I totally respect your opinions. And you can totally feel free to drop them down in the comments. One thing that I'm going to ask you not to do is to copyright claim my video. Okay? So here's the thing. I live in the US. Jimmy Snow lives in the US. In the US, we have this thing that's called fair use for commentary, which means that I can show his video in my video if I'm giving commentary on it, if I'm using it as a teaching tool, et cetera, right? I can't just like show his video, like, like, oh, let's do just like a straight up watch along. Like, no, I can't do that. But if I'm giving commentary or criticism, I absolutely can show his video in its entirety, 100%. So, yes, my last YouTube video did get a copyright claim. I did get it cleared up because of fair use, but it wasn't even Jimmy who made the claim. So I'm assuming that that was like a Jimmy fan or whatever that saw and thought that they could make a copyright claim and get it struck on Jimmy's behalf. I got it cleared up. So it's not like you get 3 copyright strikes before like your channel gets deleted or whatever, but it's not like if you get them cleared up, it's not still on there. So um, also, if you don't have a valid right to the video, YouTube again is going to clear that copyright strike. So stop it, get some help. All right. All right, let's do this. Oh, I forgot I had him muted. I was trying to like run through all of the ads before getting started, but it's like every time I would like back up, it would give me more ads. So when the ads come up, we'll just mute and chat for a minute because, I'm going to do that anyway.
Hey everyone, so here it is, the video where I'm going to respond to a lot of the things being said about me right now. Let me preface this by saying, I think I messed up a lot by doing everything improvised last time. So this time I wrote out my feelings. They are my own, but yeah, I'm going to be using my teleprompter to make sure I don't go off on tangents or prove once again that, to be honest, turns out I can be a moron.
I mean, like we can all be morons, and if you are always better and more of a scripted format, then yeah, I would suggest from the beginning that you do more of a scripted format. But I don't think that it was so much about it being like going off on tangents and stuff. It's like literally like the base, like the heart of what you said was messed up, in my opinion.
Regarding the criticisms I've received, some of the things I actually do agree with. Took me a while to get there, but yeah, Good. I'm there. I believe there are things I did wrong, but there are also narratives about me being pushed out there that aren't just wrong, they are really, really hurtful. So I just want to ask you this. If you are one of the people who has been so mad and really wanting me to admit to times I was wrong, you're going to get to see some of that. But I also want you to be open to the idea that you might have been wrong about some things too, as you watch.
I mean, that's usually how discussions go. I don't know, like, why you feel the need to, like, be patronizing to your audience and be like, oh, you might learn some things today. You maybe didn't know everything. Like, okay, we're not toddlers. Like, we know how to have, like, discussions and, like, we know how to evaluate information.
Everything goes, there is always context and nuance that you can't know, and I hope that you'll hear me out.
Duh.
The first thing I want to share is going to be very vulnerable, and I know that there are going to be some video responses, I'm sure, made to me that are saying I'm being manipulative by starting here. I don't think that's true. It is what feels like the most absolutely pressing thing to start with, what's going on in my life. So I need to start right here with an admission. I am not as strong a person as I thought I was. I thought I had a super hard exterior and interior, and that when I'm right, all I need is to be right, and then anything else won't be able to hurt me.
Like, whatever gave you that impression? Because, like, I think that you knew that that wasn't the case. In fact, you've said things that are, like, pretty contradictory to that in the past here on your channel. I'm gonna run that back because, like, what?
And that when I'm right, I need to start right here with an admission. I am not as strong a person as I thought I was. I thought I had a super hard exterior and interior, and that when I'm right,
Like, you always have said, "Oh, I'm a big softie. I'm such a big softie." Like, what is it? Are you a big softie, or do you think that you have a hard interior and exterior?
all I need is to be right, and then anything else won't be able to hurt me. And that, it turns out, is not the case.
Also, like, you've kind of seen since the time that, like, you were a Mormon that, like, just knowing that you were right excuse me, isn't enough to fulfill you. Otherwise, you probably would have, like, stayed Mormon because Mormons will brainwash you and you won't know the difference between knowing something and thinking something. But that's neither here nor there.
While I have tried to put on a mostly strong face, this has been the darkest time in my life in years. I have retreated into behaviors that are harmful, and I am desperate to get back to some level of normalcy.
Does it feel like he's guilt tripping us right now? Like, where he's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm going through some rough shit. Like, guess what, Jimmy? I'm also going through some rough shit. All right. Like, I recently moved in the middle of a pandemic and then had to deal with like a whole bunch of stuff like related to that. Um, I haven't really talked about like stuff going on with me and my spouse, but those of you who've been paying really close attention probably noticed that she and I were not living together for a while. We are back living together now. Um, and oh yeah, that's right, my dog died, and like there's like so many other things that like are going on in my life right now. But like I'm not gonna like put that on you and be like, you have to be nice to me, Jimmy, because of all this shit that's going on in my life. Like that's not on us. You don't need to guilt trip us.
And to be able to focus on the things that matter the most to me. The thing is that it is a constant negativity, anger, but yes, in some cases, and even many cases, just people expressing that the nicest form would be like, I'm not who they thought I was. And that turns out
Yeah.
hurts a lot to hear. So to the point that I've considered quitting.
It hurts us to find out that you're not who we thought we were if like we thought that you were somebody that we respected and it turns out that you're not somebody who's worthy of that respect.
Quitting a few times, but I don't actually know what else I would do at this point. And I definitely can't turn my back on my business and my staff. So I'm going to try to tell you and respond to as much as I can here. And when I am.
I really hate this guilt tripping about, oh, his business and his staff. Like, oh, I've got like 3 employees and like they need to like put food on the table. First of all, his 3 employees actually, it mostly sounds like are not like the sole provider for their household, which is not to say that like their income isn't important, but they knew that they were working for a YouTuber like when they signed up for that paycheck, and they knew by the very nature of YouTube that like shit can happen and like channels get like quote unquote canceled all the time, which I think I might discuss a little bit later, that people are using the terminology canceled wrong or not necessarily wrong because it's just like kind of taken on a different meaning. But I do want to discuss a little bit more like the origins of the term canceling later on. I think I did go off on a little bit of a tangent about it in my first video about Jimmy, but I think I'll just do like a hopefully abbreviated version of it later on because I did see in Brina's live stream that he does bring up like getting canceled a little bit later on. So
When I'm done, I need to be done with this.
but yeah, his employees knew signing up for this. Also with like the freaking community posts where he's like, "Oh, well, I might quit YouTube if the Sometimes show doesn't work out and this, that, and the other." Like they knew that. They knew that this was a possibility. So to be like, "Oh, I'm responsible for my employees." That's just guilt tripping us, Jimmy.
This for a while. And I'm really hoping by covering enough, I can be. It honestly doesn't feel like hyperbole right now to tell you that this is killing me.
Killing you? We're killing you, Jimmy? Oh my God. Like this. I'm sorry, I just bumped my mic there, but like, you're going to accuse us of killing you, Jimmy. Does he still have comments on this? Now I feel like I have to know if he still has comments on. Oh, he does still have comments on. He must be like moderating these comments though, because they all look positive. Or like people have like quit watching because I didn't comment on this. I used to comment on his stuff a lot and would have, sometimes interactions with him, which I did remember the other day. Like the first interaction that I ever had with him was like kind of a joke that I had made on one of his first videos where he actually had like the call in, like where he gave like a number for people to call in. And then he had his brother screening the calls. Oops, sorry. Did it again. Gotta watch my hands. I'm used to using like this mic and like apparently sound quality is better with this one, so I'm gonna try and get better. But he had his brother screening his calls, and he had said something about like, "Oh, we will try and do this," or "we whatever," and I like made a joke about like, "Oh, Jimmy saying we like he's got like a whole team or whatever," when it's really just him and his brother, and he like clap back to that. I can't remember. He made like some like sassy response to it, which I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, he responded to me. Like, this is, fairly early on with me following him. I don't know if I was a patron at that point or not. I think I probably was because I was a patron pretty early on because I had like, I sort of like felt bad for it. Not like bad for him, but I like felt like I like owed him to be a patron because he was like providing me with this and like people don't understand how hard it is for YouTubers and like like no, you don't owe YouTubers anything. This is before he even had like channel membership or anything. I don't think channel membership was a thing back then because this was years ago. So I did become a patron at like the lowest level, but it was like I feel like in some ways he kind of guilt tripped me into that early on, but he did very much from the beginning have this sort of like fake it till you make it and like, oh, we do all of this on a shoestring budget and blah, 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 blah. And then fast forward and here we are with like this huge set and he's got, his custom logo and this, that, and the other. And like that shit's got to cost money, like lots of money. So, I'm not quite sure what he makes now. Looking at his social blade, it just shows shit from like the past month. And like, as you guys know, he's kind of tanked in the past month. So it's like his yearly projections are like around about what people like make on average as like an average salary. So um, I think he probably was making a lot more than that, but that's what he's making now. And to be fair, like supporting three people on an average salary is friggin' hard. So I get it. Um, I don't know if his moving expenses are going to be more or less since he's moved to Texas, but I also don't know if we're going to be privy to that information. So, anyway, getting back to Jimmy guilt tripping us.
Because the dark places I've gone, very, very dark places. All I honestly want is to help people and make people.
And I don't want to like make light of his mental health issues because, as some of you know, like I have my own mental health issues. There's many people that I love in my life that have mental health issues, and I am, in as much as I can, be supportive of people dealing with those things. But I don't like what is the saying that keeps going around lately now? Like a diagnosis is an explanation, not an excuse, right? And it does feel like a lot of this is like an excuse and not an explanation.
People's lives better, and I've been failing to do that lately. But also lately, people have come for every aspect of my life except for my dog. And now that I've mentioned it, Dexter might be next. So if when you hear me out, you still think I'm awful, then I will be.
I think that he was being hyperbolic there. But like, dude.
Sad to see you go, but I'm going to put everything on the table. I'm going to be honest, and I hope for the most part, I've recovered at least some understanding from people, even if you still don't agree with me. Let me list out real quick everything I'm going to be talking about.
Okay.
I'm going to start off by talking about why I turned off comments on the.
I'm going to try and be understanding. And as you might remember from my first video about him, I actually don't like hate on him for turning off comments. I actually think that turning off comments to me is better than like policing comments and deleting specific comments. IMHO.
The original Gabby Hanna Rachel Oates video, and why since turning off comments, we've also blocked people trying to comment other places.
He says we. Again, is that you and your brother, or like was it your staff did it because you told them to?
And anyone just really trying to force me to talk about it. It's important for me.
He looks around at his staff. I think that he did instruct his staff, like block people if they say this or whatever. He probably didn't like instruct them all to like say fuck you and then block them. Like probably all of the fuck yous and all of that shit was like all actually Jimmy. But yeah, I think he probably did instruct his staff to like go and block people. I've heard a little bit through the grapevine about some of his interactions with people, and I haven't seen that shit yet. So like, we're only 4 minutes into this hour and 18 long video. So like, I know it's going to get more spicy, but like already kind of spicy.
I need to also talk about my social philosophy. It's going to be important for everything else, but I'm going to try to keep it short. During that, I'm also going to talk about why I've taken so much time to address things. I'm also going to talk about the accusations that I'm using my autism as a shield. I will also generally talk about the way I engage with fans. This will mean covering how I form friendships with people who liked my channel before we met. Also talk about how I've engaged with people in antagonistic ways and who either didn't like me or my channel, or in cases, just my recent actions. It's come up a little recently, so I will also talk about my views on dating people who knew my channel before me and how like my views on that have changed over time. Then I'm going to address accusations that, and forgive me, content warning, we will be using the R word quite a few times in this.
Does he mean the R word, or does he mean, I think what he means by the R word is not the R word. I think he means like sexual assault.
What do you even call this episode? We'll be addressing accusations that I'm a rape apologist. Then I'm going to address the narrative that I picked Gabby Hanna over Rachel Oates, which is probably the most popular.
I'm sorry, this is one that like gets me a little bit. Jimmy, you don't get to decide what the R word is. Okay? I understand that you will get demonetized or whatever for talking about sexual assault on your channel. But that does not make rape the R word, okay? The letter words are words that we have deemed as a society that we don't say because they're disrespectful to a certain group of people, okay? The same way that the N word is disrespectful to Black people or people of color. The F word that you have used on your channel refers to people who are in the queer community, but you have taken back that word, and I'm not going to get into like whether or not it's okay for queer people to use that word. The same way that I don't want to get into whether or not it's okay for Jewish people to use the K word or Hispanic people to use the S word. But as somebody who has mental illness, you should know that the R word is a word that is already reserved. You can say an R word, you can say R word, whatever. Go ahead and like abbreviate rape to R word or just call it R, whatever. But the R word is something that we have been working as a society to move past for quite a while. So you calling something else an experience that people have gone through, the R word, is so disrespectful to people with learning disabilities and mental illness. The R word was something that I got called growing up as somebody with mental illness and learning disability. That's something that I got called through elementary school, through middle school, and not quite as much in high school. But yeah, that is something that like a lot of people had to deal with. And I'm sorry that you apparently didn't have to deal with that, Jimmy. But like, no, you don't get to deem some other word the R word.
Popular thing that is lobbed
just because you don't want to get demonetized.
at me right now. I'll also further address my friendship with Gabby Hanna. I'm going to address accusations that I support or condone the actions of a rape apologist.
Hey, Laura.
I will also address accusations that I silence sexual assault survivors and people from other groups. And Jesus, as I list all these out loud, like so many things to address. I probably should have. Then I'm also going to hit some other general things from outside of the situation. First, I'm going to address people who are mad that I abandoned Dear Mr. Atheist for the Sometime Show. This is in the part after the whole Gabby stuff. I'll also address that people feel like I've tried to guilt people into watching the Sometime Show. There's an accusation out there that I threatened my audience, that I would quit if they didn't watch. I'll talk about that. And people have said that I'm a hypocrite.
I mean, like you did, though. You said if I don't get like X amount of views by such and such a time, I'm going to consider this a failure. And then when people were like, oh, you're going to go back to doing like Mr. Atheist content, you were like, no, just to be clear, if I quit doing the Sometime Show, I quit YouTube. I don't go back to doing Dear Mr. Atheist. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that like you meant it in a threatening way, but like it still ended up being a threat to us.
For crapping on drama channels when I've talked about people like Trisha Paytas and many other creators. People also wish I would shut up about numbers, stop talking about channel numbers. I've also been called a narcissist who has manipulated my therapist, which is a rough one to hear. I'm going to hit that one and probably some more that come to mind.
Okay, so I think that might be one of the ones that people said that he was talking about something that I said. Okay, to be fair, I did say that he had some narcissistic type traits. I never said that he was a malignant narcissist or anything like that. What I said about his therapist was that a therapist only gets input from you. So they're only going to be able to see the situation from your perspective. And I also said that I didn't think that he was maybe necessarily getting everything out of his therapy appointments that he thought he was. Maybe he wasn't making the progress that he thought he was based on his actions. Is that what he's talking about here? I don't know. Maybe somebody else said something similar to that, but it just seemed to me that it was like, okay, like he's saying, oh, these are things that I've worked on in therapy, but it's like, okay, dude, you might have worked on them, but like, there's still progress to be made. There's still progress to be made here, right? All right, moving on.
Mine as I put my thoughts together. All right, so let me start here. I absolutely think I did things wrong, but I'm also resentful of a lot of conspiracies and jumps to conclusions that people have come up with. I'm not going to address all of them. I honestly couldn't if I wanted to. There's too many now. But if you are one of the people who started creating conspiracies about my personal life or about my current relationship especially, I'm actually not trying to save you as a subscriber at all, and you can go. The rage I felt...
First of all, like you weren't gonna save me as a subscriber or as a Patreon supporter. Like this video, there really wasn't a way to save it. But the speculations that I made about your relationship were just that, like, well, to be fair, I didn't really make any speculations about his relationship. I said very clearly in my videos that, like, we're not seeing all of it. And some of it, she did seem really, really uncomfortable, but it could just be that she's really, really uncomfortable being on camera because, like, that's a thing. Go watch some of my early videos. I was really, really uncomfortable being on camera. I'm still not the most comfortable with it, but back then I was really, really awkward. So, it is a thing that just kind of happens with time, but also like, dude, I didn't see anybody like speculating that like there was anything like actually going on there. There was like some speculations about like what might be going on behind the scenes, but there was literally nobody saying, hey, I think this is happening.
Seeing those kinds of things.
As far as like bad shit, I did say, hey, it looks like they're having some really good communication. Like I did speculate things about their relationship, but like the things that I speculated were like mostly all really good things, right?
And how it hurt my partner also. Yeah, if my problem here is that I can't humble myself enough to get over that, then I'm just going to accept that that's a character flaw of mine because I straight up have contempt for the things that I had to read. Regarding saving anyone else as a subscriber, I don't think that's why I'm doing this time. Obviously, I think I pretty much said so, that I was trying something like that the first time. I thought by sharing and being open, it would stop the narratives going around. And as I said in the video, I was motivated to try and protect my business. But this time is not that. This time...
The guilt tripping us about the business. Oh my gosh, dude. It is not our responsibility to make sure that your business is running well. Yes, your business is contingent upon us as viewers, okay? But like, that's not our fault that you said some shit that pissed us off and we stopped watching, all right? And like, again, as I said, your employees signed up to work for a YouTuber. They know that like YouTube is a fickle mistress, shall we say. And if you say stupid shit, tables can turn on you at any time. Now maybe they were banking on you not to do some dumbass shit, Jimmy. But it's not our fault that you did some dumbass shit and we quit watching. That's on you.
I am motivated by the fact that many people have adopted in their mind a character of me that isn't me. And some of that is my fault, but some of it is also not. Some of it has come from creators who are motivated by the views they get when talking about me and by telling people how to feel about me. But some of it's also been because I've sort of been a dick. The knowledge that I have worked
Bing, 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 bing. Yes. So anytime that you're going to be like a large creator, like there's going to be some people who like talk shit on you. There was, I remember a while back, there was this adorable video that I like had to laugh at because it wasn't serious, or maybe it was serious, but like nobody could take it serious. It was like a hate video about Jammy Dodger and Noah, and I can't remember Noah's like channel name. I apologize. But like two of like the most adorable non-problematic creators ever. And it was like, "Oh, this beef between them." And come to think of it, it had to be like a joke because it was like literally like breaking the laws of physics, some of the shit that they were like coming up with. Um but it was like, yeah, like anytime you're a big channel, like you're gonna get criticism. You're gonna get people like saying that like you broke the laws of physics to like say that you're a jerk. Right? It comes with the territory. But guess what? Some of this is freaking valid criticism, Jimmy. And like you need to address the valid criticism. Um Also, to be fair, like it's been a while and he did finally address this. I did see in Brina's stream where he did say, you know, it's taken me a while to address this because it's taken me a while to process it. I get that. I get that. My first video that I did about him, it took me a while to even like process what I was feeling and thinking about him. And so yeah, like I didn't immediately, as soon as he like posted that first video about his situation with Gabby Hanna and Rachel Oates, I didn't immediately jump on and say, "Hey, here's how I feel about him," because I had to process it, you know? And that's why I talked about like a later video of his where it was like after I had some time to process, like let's talk about it and let's see like what he's referring to in this video, et cetera, et cetera.
so hard to be a better person and be an activist and be an advocate and to have all of that, all of it.
It is hard to always be a better person. Like, but like not a day without progress, buddy. Like you got to grow.
The knowledge that I have worked so hard to be a better person and be an activist and be an advocate and to have all of it washed away over something that felt like a totally personal matter.
No, that wasn't all washed away. All of those things that are like inherent to you are still inherent to you. Like that didn't, like you didn't stop being a feminist. You didn't stop being an activist. You didn't stop, like it literally doesn't matter what like people say about you. You're still going to be the things that you are.
To put lightly, I'm not doing okay right now. But there have been plenty of people who have basically said, don't try.
Then get off the internet. Like I know that you're saying like, "Oh, it's important to my staff and blah 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 blah." Do you, like are they working for you for a paycheck, or are they working for you because like they actually believe in your mission? And if they actually believe in your mission, then they probably would be okay with you stepping back for a little bit. If they're working for you for a paycheck and not because they believe in your mission, then like fuck them.
Try to defend yourself, just admit you were wrong, and here you're going to see basically a mix of both. I'm going to be talking about both. I'm not going to lie about my intention.
You know what? I don't dislike that. There was oh, a literary reviewer a while back, and I can't remember her name. I loved her work, and she got called out for saying some shit that was like some problematic shit. And she was like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna address this shit, and like part of this is gonna be apologizing for shit, and some of this is gonna be like me not apologizing for the shit because like I'm just gonna like explain my side of it." And I appreciated that she wasn't just like, "Okay, like you said it's problematic, I'm sorry." Because she actually like evaluated whether or not she agreed with the people who were calling her out. What time is it? I might have to go give the dog some dog meds in a minute. Yeah, it is about that time.
intentions or actions to appease people who are mad in regards to where I think a popular sentiment is wrong. If that's what I think happened, I'm going to say so. I've been fighting against popular sentiments my entire channel. Like, what do you think it's like to fight with Christians? All right, let's get into the weeds. Okay. I know this was a long intro. Last thing I'll say is please watch the whole video. Please, especially if you feel a certain way because of some other video you watch covering it or something, please actually hear my own words. I'm going to mention this first because
okay, because this is where he's like starting the video or whatever. I'm just gonna like go give the dog her pill really, really quick. But I shall be right back. I'm not actually gonna put any audio in, or maybe should I put audio in so that it like I can just clip it out later? No, I don't have time. I'll be right back. Seriously, I'll just be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for the lurk. Um, yeah, thank you for your patience, guys. I Our big dog passed away less than a month ago, and the little one started having seizures again, so we have her meds, and it doesn't matter. Let's just go back to it.
I know it's probably going to come up anyway. Yeah, I'm going to leave this video monetized, mostly because right now I think I have to.
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with that. Um, I have kind of like a different opinion of this than a lot of people who would like talk about um, YouTube apology videos and how like they shouldn't be monetized, but like doing YouTube is his job. And so if he felt like he had to do a video where he addressed this, that's part of his job. That's part of his work. And I do feel like creators should be paid for their work. So I actually don't have a problem with this being monetized. I kind of wish that I had like logged in with my wife's account so that I could watch it ad free. But I don't want to like give him the views that much. So
It might seem scummy, but I hope that you're going to understand that this, I don't have a better word than drama, but this incident has hurt my business in a significant way, and I absolutely can't turn.
He's saying that he doesn't have a better word than drama, but I feel like that is kind of downplaying it. So like we have words. We say controversy, conflict, situation. Like there's all kinds of like more serious words than drama. Drama just seems like you're making light of the situation, Jimmy. And are you making light of the situation? Is that what's going on here?
Turn down much of anything right now that could make sure I could cover my business costs. But I'm compelled to also promise to do something.
Is there going to be a sponsored segment too? Sorry, I cracked myself up with that one. And then I made myself cough, so like dharma.
Thing outside of myself with it. So I will be, assessing what I need to cover those costs and doing a donation otherwise to the Trevor Project.
By the way, I have really bad allergies this time of year. If you see me coughing, sneezing, it's not the beer virus.
From profits from this episode. Okay, so why did I turn off comments on the first Gabby and Rachel video and then go on a
I am still wearing a mask in public places, even though I am fully vaccinated. But yes, it's just allergies.
A blocking spree. First of all, let me say this. I shouldn't have made that video at all. It was a mistake and it was...
Wait, what? Is he saying that like he shouldn't have like told us about the situation? I shouldn't have made that video at all. I shouldn't have told you guys about my fuck up. Is that what he's trying to say?
Was one I made in the heat of the moment when I was mad at Rachel for saying things in an interview about me that I didn't agree with. I want to say directly to Rachel and Rachel only right now, I'm sorry I made that video.
Jimmy, I don't think Rachel was watching. Also, pretty sure you could have just DM'd her.
I really feel like I needed to do something, but I should have at least tried to reach out and ask if we could talk privately. In a way...
Why not reach out and ask if you could talk privately now?
Even though we're not friends anymore, I now see, and I've also heard from many comments, that I was basically breaking the same kind of trust that I felt like Rachel had broken before. But
what was the trust that you feel like Rachel had broken before? Did she say your name in that interview? Because as far as I knew, she just said, creator.
But I did make that video, and I thought I said everything I needed to, but you don't know
I could
what
be wrong
you
about
missed
that.
until
Correct me
it's
if I'm wrong.
pointed out. So the number one reason I turned off comments was this, and many of you still won't agree with it. It isn't that I can't receive any criticism or that I want to make sure no one ever sees a negative thing. It was that the narratives being spun in the comments I felt weren't accurate. People were making claims about me that weren't true, and even if that was their honest assessment, I didn't have time to take on and correct each one. And if I'd tried, I probably would have fucked that up anyway. Like, I don't know if you've all noticed, I'm not right now doing very good at responding to people that I'm mad at for misrepresenting me. But I will tell you, this is now something I've brought up in therapy, and we're actually dedicating a lot of the foreseeable future to try and fix that. I'm very aware.
Who is it that's misrepresenting him? Like he keeps talking about like, oh, people keep misrepresenting my narrative. And it's just like, oh, they didn't talk about my thoughts and feelings. Like who's misrepresenting your actions? Because as far as I've seen, like people all have like cited sources, like the Reddit thread where I found Brina, like those are all like people literally have like screenshots and timestamps and links. Like who's misrepresenting your behavior?
That when I engage with somebody who I feel like is misrepresenting me.
Also, I have seen like posts get removed that like were misrepresenting him. So I do feel like in most cases, okay, so maybe there is like the few and far between who are misrepresenting you, but that's not like the loudest voices. Those are like the quietest voices, the voices that like we don't discuss. We not necessarily that we don't discuss them, but like we correct them. Those are the voices that we correct. So
I lose my friggin' mind. I think I got used to it from all of the arguments with religious people and telling me like I can't have morals and stuff. And then I forgot to turn it off and it grew and became hateful and just sort of expanded in other places. But I will say I have said for years, my biggest pet peeve is being told what my intention and feelings are by someone who has no idea. Not just somebody who doesn't know me, but somebody who...
We didn't say what your intentions and feelings are. We are commenting on your actions. And we're saying that you are a bad friend.
Who's saying from, for example, a text that your tone was this. That drives me wild. And I think everybody in my personal life knows that.
You can read tone from text in some cases, though. And like tone doesn't necessarily refer to tone of voice. Like, and yes, I'm not going to say like that there aren't cases in which like text can be misrepresented and like misread as far as tone goes. Absolutely. But when you're saying like, oh, you misunderstood. If I quit doing the Sometime Show, I'm not going back to doing Dear Mr. Atheist. I'm just quitting YouTube. That's not like the tone of that is not ambiguous.
That. I'm going to be later responding to some of the specific claims people made, but that was a big part of it. So here's some of the other reasons why I did that. The first few hours of the video, while there were people who were mad, it was mostly the same kinds of things. And actually, there were lots of people who were kind and supportive and said, the popular on my quote unquote side sentiment was, it seems like there was a miscommunication here and it's understandable and I hope you guys can fix this. But on the negative side, it was mostly the same kinds of things where people.
Actually, this is funny. I think probably from the very start, he was policing comments because I had made a comment about, that I had, it kind of gave me yucky feelings. Somebody had commented to me, letting me know about the Reddit r/speak freely about Jimmy, I believe. But they had to like, type it in a way that it wouldn't come up because he had that filtered as a term. And that was when it started to like open my eyes that there were like other people who were kind of feeling the way that I felt about stuff. So it wasn't even like one particular incident at that point. It was just like, this guy gives me kind of yucky vibes when I started like reading the Reddit thread. And again, like I said, these were all like cited sources. They were all had like links and timestamps or screenshots and stuff like that. So like there were a lot of us who were starting to feel that way. And then my comment got deleted. Before he turned off comments, my comment got deleted. So it's like I said about my previous in my previous video about like my comment where like he called me douchey and I was just like, what the fuck? And then like it got deleted because like he's covering his tracks and it's kind of creepy.
People would leave in a huff because I had said I was friends with Gabby. I'm not kidding. That was for the first few hours. Most popular was, you're friends with Gabby, I'm out. And then when drama channels covered.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't watch your whole video. It might have just meant that they like unsubscribed because like that just because they're canceling you, they're canceling their subscription to you, which is where the terminology comes from. That's what it means to cancel somebody. Is like a magazine subscription. You cancel. I canceled my Patreon support of you. We didn't necessarily need to see the whole video to know that we were going to unsubscribe, even if we did watch the whole video to hear you out. Because I did watch the whole video to hear you out. But I was literally so upset when I first started watching that I had to click off. And I had to come back to hear you out. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this all in one sitting. I'm going to try. It's an hour and 18 minutes long. And we're going to get through this whole video. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it all in one sitting.
My video and spun what I said, the comments all shifted to the narratives they put out there. And that video had less than 20% engagement before I turned off the comments, which indicates to me that a lot of people weren't even watching half of it. And yet there was all of these, I believe, false narratives going. So I'm definitely here to also talk about the things I did wrong. Turning off the comments on that is actually not one I regret, but maybe my communication about it, that I probably do. And I also acknowledge that it made people feel like I didn't want to hear things that I don't agree with. I hope you'll be happy to know that, first of all, even the comments that got deleted and blocked, I read most of them. Part of why I'm not doing great. Second, I have now had conversations with creators and experts that I felt could help me figure out what I did and didn't do wrong. I didn't just seek criticism. At a certain point, I did go, I need to find criticism, but it has to be qualified criticism, because even large groups on the internet, again, if
it has to be qualified criticism, what qualifies your criticism? In some ways, I understand. Like, okay, you don't just like take criticism from anybody. In some ways, it's like, to me, it's like, okay, I will take constructive criticism. If it's just like criticism for the sake of criticism, whatever. But like, if somebody's like watching my channel and they're like, I really don't like the host, like, that's not constructive criticism. That's just saying like, you don't like me. And like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, replace myself? Like, I am the owner, host, creator, everything here. So like, that's not constructive. But if somebody says, like, that color shirt looks really bad on you, that's constructive. So, yes, like listening to constructive criticism over non-constructive criticism, sure, but like what is your qualified criticism here, Jimmy?
If they stemmed from narratives that came from other places, it just doesn't work.
Wait, so if it came from somewhere that you don't approve of, then it's not good criticism? I'm going to run that back and make sure that I got that in context.
You can't find criticism, but it has to be qualified criticism, because even large groups on the internet that, again, if they stemmed from narratives that came from other places, it just doesn't work. So I went and sought criticism.
Why not? Why not? If it's a fair criticism, it shouldn't matter where it comes from.
Criticism, like I said, other creators and qualified people. But some of you on an individual level probably feel slighted by me. And in some cases, I totally did slight you. But I do want you to know, for 95+% of you, it was not at all personal. For the same reasons I talked about before, and mostly now my mental health, there's still going to be the same.
I have taken criticism from I think at the time he was my 3-year-old nephew on, I was in school to be a nail tech, because it was like good criticism. He pointed out something that was like, I don't know how to explain it. He pointed out something that was like important, and like maybe I did notice it, but I didn't realize how like glaringly obvious it was until a 3-year-old pointed it out. Like, I literally have taken unqualified criticism from a 3-year-old on like a professional task before. So like, what is this? Like, you have to be a qualified individual to give him criticism. What qualifies me? Like, how do I get qualified? What degree do I need to be able to give you criticism, Jimmy? Is there a university that I need to attend? And do I need to like go to BYU to give you criticism?
Policy for a little while, as hopefully this starts a conversation. I hope diffuses.
Because, Kwaku's allowed to give him criticism, right? Him and Kwaku are buddies. Why not me, Jimmy? We've discussed things in the comments. I've been following you since you had like just a couple thousand followers. So what's up with that?
However, I still want to say to you that if you felt betrayed by me, and you are, especially those people who have supported me for so long, only to have me turn on you by deleting you or blocking you, I am actually sorry.
I don't think he actually deleted me or blocked me. He deleted some of my comments, but I don't think he blocked me or deleted me. Now I feel a little bit left out. I didn't push your buttons enough, Jimmy.
Sorry. And I'm sorry for how the feelings
Actually,
that
I'm
invoked.
glad he didn't block me.
For the record, the Jimmy Snow
I do feel like in a lot of ways I'm mindful of. I don't know that I'm always the best at, but I do try to be mindful of saying things that aren't just like, you suck, you're a terrible person, but like actually saying like constructive criticism, right? So maybe that's why I managed to not get blocked. Also, I don't do Twitter, so.
You have seen recently that you don't like, I don't really like that guy either. And I hope you're going to understand that I already knew that negative profiles of me were being painted in a lot of places, and I needed to universally shut that off my channel, because truly, it just felt like it was coming from everywhere and people were poisoning the well.
If it was coming from everywhere, then like, shouldn't that be a time when you should like sit down and evaluate and be like, hey, maybe there's something to this? And like evaluate, is there something to this or is it bullshit? Instead of just blocking it all out.
Now, it's also a fact that many people complaining that I'm shutting down criticism, they weren't actually there for that. They were there to build and participate in a public attempt at pushing a few different narratives.
What narrative?
At frankly pushing my cancellation.
Again, we've talked about like somebody canceling you is a personal decision that they get to make on whether or not they want to follow you. So like you saying like you're canceled publicly doesn't fucking matter. But like, what are these narratives? Because he keeps talking about these false narratives, but he hasn't addressed any of them yet. I feel like he's just like priming his audience to be like, oh, okay. They were wrong about stuff. So if we see videos talking about Jimmy, they're wrong about stuff.
I reminded people that if they have something they want me to read, I have an email and I have a voicemail, which I realize as I'm saying out loud now, I do read the voicemails, it transcribes them. But almost
I do the same thing. I think that's actually a really common thing for people with autism is like we have a hard time not necessarily like hearing, like sometimes we have like super acute hearing. Like I can hear the dog pacing outside of the door. Like just her little, even like when her nails are fully trimmed and like little clicky clickies. Um, but like there will be stuff, especially if it's loud stuff, I can't hear it. If it like goes above a certain amount of decibels, I just like my brain just shuts it out. So like especially like anybody that's like if they're like in a crowd or if they're like talking too loudly into the microphone, like I can't hear what you're saying. So it is ever since they started doing transcribed voicemails, like yay for a lot of us.
No one took that up. Only a few dozen people compared to thousands of people who were wanting to repeat talking points that I think came from the drama channels. I actually know they came from those channels.
Are you going to address those talking points?
And any message I did receive directly to me about the issue, except for I think there was like 2 that were like 50 pages long, I actually did read those. But people who tried to force points and conversations.
I think he's being hyperbolic. But at the same time, when I realized that I wrote 10 pages, it might like feel like 50 pages when you get an email that like printed out is like 9.25 pages. But yeah, it probably does look like 50 pages when you just like see it in email format. I did try to like make paragraphs and like organize it, but sorry.
Conversations elsewhere before I was ready, where I had the power to block, I did. But I wasn't doing a great job of communicating that I needed the space or that I wasn't ready.
Just
now,
say,
now,
hey.
people who try to state things about me as facts that
I have actually like commented to people. So I have a rule. You guys might know this. I will engage one person per day in discourse. One person of a directly opposing opinion in polite discourse per day. Anything more than that is bad for my mental health. And as soon as it turns into like ad hominem attacks or any type of like victim blaming or there's just like certain things where it's like I will engage in polite discourse as soon as it becomes impolite. I will just explain, hey, like this isn't good for my mental health. I can't do this. And I explain that in 2 sentences where I'm like, hey, you know what? I can't do this because of this. I'm out. That's all it takes. And you can copy paste that 50 times. Also, like, why did you engage with 50 people in one day? That was dumb to me.
know to be untrue, I'm definitely still going to be blocking people who just outright lie and.
What do we lie about? What do people lie about? What were lies? Where were the lies?
Go, no, I'm sure it's still X, Y, or Z. Even people.
What's the X, Y, and Z?
People who say stuff like Jimmy's just been lying about Rachel. But what lie have I told? Definitely talked about a disagreement. So yeah, there's still going to be people who get blocked.
I don't think anybody said that he lied. People said that he was disingenuous. He sounds like he's going to have a breakdown. Yeah. I think he maybe already did kind of have a breakdown, and this is like him coming back from the breakdown. But like, yeah. And I don't understand, like, why are you making a video if you're like in the midst of a breakdown? Just like take a step back. Yeah. Yeah.
At that point, depending on how vigilant the people wanting to cancel me are, once things cool down, I'm actually planning to unblock everybody who has been blocked from the last month or who will be blocked between now and that blocking moment.
Who will be
It's become
blocked,
clear to me that
so
many of the comments, which totally misrepresented what I said, were made as bad faith arguments, or at times were just all out lies. But also,
what bad faith arguments? Give us the receipts. Show us the proof.
So I'm aware that Gabby is one of the single most hated people on
Where's
YouTube,
the
perhaps the most hated person on YouTube, and that regardless of whether or not that hatred is justified, which for me and my personal philosophy, hatred of an individual is almost never justified. That's my worldview. But
I agree with that. That's something that I have said previously on my YouTube channel, and I will also make that clear on Twitch, as well as, again, making that clear on YouTube. Absolutely, in the comments, in the chat, feel free to attack each other's opinions. Don't attack each other as people. Like, that's, I am totally 100% down with, like, going after people's opinions, but don't go after people as a person, okay? Like, that's, yeah. We argue with opinions, not with like people and their like identity is who they are. I agree with you on that, Jimmy.
even if it was, I know that the obsession with hating her is also real. I'm not saying that everyone who disagrees with her, dislikes her, or criticizes her is that way. I'm not saying that. In fact, I'm not even saying most of those people are that way. But it's so many people that even it being a subset, there are thousands of people right now who have such an obsessive hatred of her that a major part of their day, every day, is trying to burn down her world and anything it touches.
And why is
And some
that?
of those people, it was clear, were in my comments. And then final reasons why I turned off the comments and went on a blocking spree. With all of that in mind, was that not only...
So, like, I'm not going to go through like the whole rundown of like reasons why people hate Gabby Hanna, but like she has like really quite actively ruined people's lives. So there's a reason for that. And then you inserted yourself into a situation that like you did not need to be in and like stirred the pot and made it worse. So yeah, there are people in your DMs. There are people like discussing the shit, but like we have every right to. And like you should address it and not just dismiss it.
It was the engagement on the video itself, low, as in how much people were watching the video before leaving. To me that, sorry, I'm getting all jumbled, but to me that indicates most people weren't even trying to hear me out. I already suspected that. And then I noticed there were more views on videos spinning and changing what I said and changing my motivation than on my video itself. So there are entire channels.
What did we change it to? What did we change it to, Jimmy? Because we're just reacting to your actions.
To get virtually no views on any other video, except now when they're talking about me or they're talking about Gabby and me.
He's talking about me again. So yeah, as I stated before, I started this channel a long time ago. I don't know. You can go look. It's actually, I started this channel before I met my now spouse. But my Twitch channel, I went back on and started streaming again because I was boring the hell out of my spouse talking about this shit that, you know, she regarded it as internet drama. She had kind of a similar opinion to Jimmy. And not that she, like, thought poo-poo of it or whatever, but it was like she had other shit that she was working on. She had her own life, and she was just like, oh my God, like, this is so much information. Also, it was before she was on T-blockers. I think now she, like, gets a little bit more interested in the drama, to be fair. But, that's why I started this channel, was like to talk about shit that like my spouse didn't necessarily want to hear about. And yeah, I did get like 5,000 views on my first video about you, Jimmy Snow, when before that I was getting like a couple hundred views. But I made that video because I felt the need to talk about it, not because I felt the need to grab views. If I was like somebody who was trying to grab views or whatever, you would see like a history on my channel of like, oh, I'm going to talk about this drama thing that's going on and this drama thing that's going on. And like, yeah, I have a little bit talked about some drama stuff, but it's all just stuff that interests me, that is important to me. So yeah, I did happen to like strike on something that is also important to other people. And like, what do you know? 5,000 people wanted to view that video that I did about you. That means that I like found content that people enjoy. Same as you when you started talking about Paul Morgan and like all of a sudden your views started going way, way, way up. And Girl Defined. And like are you saying that like, oh, you were, you know, abusing that situation with Paul Morgan and Girl Defined because that was when your channel started to hit? Because that's kind of what you're saying about my channel, is that, oh, I'm a shitty channel because I only started to hit when I started to do videos about you. Well, does that mean that you're a shitty channel, that you only started to hit when you started to do videos about Paul Morgan and Girl Defined? Come on, buddy. People are allowed to talk about whatever the hell they want to talk about. And the fact that you upset us enough to where some of us like got back on the internet and started making videos when we hadn't made any in months should tell you something.
But now it actually works to just be me. And I'm not kidding. Those channels are getting thousands of views. There will be people watching who go, they are? Well, I'm going to jump in, which is disappointing.
Why don't you go look at the date on those?
And because I know I'm not the way they say I am, it fucking hurts, man, to see people do that. And for them to not care about how they are painting you because it's getting them so many views.
Kind of like you did with Paul Morgan and Girl Defined.
So the comments, yes, they were turned off. And for that video, they're not going back on.
I'm Lori Alexander.
I'll likely be removing that video before long because it also doesn't fall in line with the actual things I want my channel to be about. I don't even know why it's still up now, except for that
He's going to remove the video. See, here's the thing that I talked about is like, I'm okay with him like turning off comments if he feels the need to like police the comments and he can't feel like he can police the comments. But just to delete the video. And then what I'm betting is that he is going to like copyright strike anybody who tries to upload footage of it in the future. Maybe we'll just have to do like a quick retro reaction to that in the next couple days before he deletes it, I guess. Yeah.
Honestly, I've been afraid of the fallout if I take it off. But I
We're
would like to
19
restate that if
minutes,
you send me
30
a personal
seconds in,
email
by the
or a
way.
voicemail, while I'm not going to be able to reply to all of them, depending on how many, I might not even be able to reply to most, but your message will very likely be read. And as long as I have the spoons, it'll probably be read quickly, within at least a few hours. Okay, next, and I know it feels like I'm stretching everything out, but I feel like I have to be so thorough right now because while yes, I totally did say things wrong in the last video, there's also a level of I wasn't thorough, and where I wasn't thorough, a lot of people injected a lot of stuff. So I have to talk about my social philosophy, and while it sounds boring, it's very important to the rest of the video. Pivotal, actually.
Okay.
Let me start with an admission. The way I phrased it last time was really, really fucking stupid. Like so bad. And I think I had stated it like that before, and it just, now having actually thought about it, it was bad. So I don't blame people for thinking that I was saying that I'm only a bad person's friend in the hopes that I can change them. That would actually be gross if it was true, to be honest.
But that is what you said. You said many of them in hopes that I can change them. That's why you're friends with many quote unquote bad people.
It just wasn't a good way to put that. A better way to say it would have been to say, I won't deny others what was my salvation, which was that when I was a bigot of just about every kind, and I was, my friend still saw value in being my friend and saw value even regardless of the bigotry.
Okay, so I'm going to like just give an example of a friend that I used to have. Actually, it was a former. You know what? I'm not going to actually talk further about that relationship and how it formed, but he and I were friends and had been friends for many months, going on years. And this was during the first Trump election, when Trump was elected. And he and I had talked about a few things and had like realized that we did not see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I'm not going to get into like what his politics were and what my politics were. But there were some things where it was like, okay, we can agree to disagree on that. And then we got to a point where I felt like his views were directly undermining the rights and values of others. And for me, I basically said to him, hey, either you need to like recognize that this is undermining the rights and values of other people. It's hurting people. Not just you have different views or whatever, but your views are harmful to others. And if you don't recognize that, then I can't be friends with you. And like, that's where we left our friendship. Because, and I hate to like give people an ultimatum because ultimatums suck. But like for me, that was my line in the sand. Was I couldn't be friends with somebody who was okay with harming other people by the way that they voted or by the way that they spoke publicly. Like, no, I was not okay with being friends with somebody who was willing to cast a vote knowing that that was hurting somebody else. And where I live, there is a lot of ignorance. And I definitely have been friends with people who voted for things that I disagreed with, but I don't feel like they knowingly agreed with or knowingly voted for that. It wasn't like there's a lot of ignorance where I live, unfortunately. And people who are uneducated might have voted for things in the past that like they wouldn't if they were educated. But if you like know that that is harmful to people and you're like, you know what, I don't care because it helps me, then like that's my line in the sand. Your line in the sand might be in a different place. But that's where my line is. And that was where I said, I can't continue this friendship anymore.
And they were patient and wonderful, even though I was shitty. So now I also want to give you a little more context. I grew up as a Mormon. Mormonism is a cult. One of the things it specializes in is called us versus them, as well as this proficient skill in othering. In Mormonism, you absolutely learn to isolate yourself from people and things that would challenge your beliefs. You are also taught how to have friendships with non-believers, but only with the ultimate goal of converting them. When I left that church, I was still shitty and doing the same type.
So when people said like, hey, you still got Mormon man vibes. And you said, oh, that's so hurtful. Like, you're acknowledging that that is indeed the case.
Of things for a long time. I only wanted friends who agreed with me unless I felt like there was a chance I could change somebody to the way I thought. But I was miserable, even after Mormonism for quite a while. Extremely, extremely miserable. In my mid-20s, I started to broaden my mind, and I set the bedrock for what would be the foundation of my activism. And I 100% know that what I'm about to say, I'm just going to get accused of virtue signaling, and there's nothing I can do about it because it feels important to me, and it's true, and it matters. As an atheist, the people who have most influenced my personal and social philosophy were actually two super religious dudes. Different religions, but religious. The first one was Martin Luther King Jr., and the second one was Gandhi. Actually, then a few years later, I would read the story of Daryl Davis, and I feel like that.
Okay, so MLK Jr. and Mohandas K. Gandhi both had like really problematic personal lives. So it kind of doesn't surprise me that like those are the people who like molded his philosophies in life. Both of them were highly misogynistic. Both of them, yeah, basically shat all over their families for the sake of whatever their movement was. So, yes, they did great things for their movements, both of those men. In fact, I have like a Gandhi tattoo on my body. But that doesn't mean that like I advocate for like every aspect of Mohandas K. Gandhi's life. He was kind of a jackass in some ways.
That is when everything got sort of solidified. All three men taught me how to be a better man and to be a fierce person without succumbing to toxic masculinity. And at the core of what I learned from them.
But like two of those, and I don't know about the third one, two of those did succumb to toxic masculinity in their own lives, Jimmy.
Was to be bold and to not shy away from confrontation, but to also love everyone, your enemies included. They also taught me that we should always hope for justice, but then rehabilitation, not just revenge. And for those of you,
justice or grace. So here's a thing that I have learned over the years is that when it comes to other people's wrongdoings, people have a tendency to see others' wrongdoings and want justice for them, but when they see their own wrongdoings, they want grace, right? So like, why can't we like work on finding like that bridge between justice and grace where like we can grant them grace, but we also feel justice?
You who don't know who Daryl Davis is, he's an African-American man who started befriending members of the KKK and starting a collection of the Klan robes that they would give them when through their friendship, they would ultimately leave. That dude is like the fucking biggest badass in the world to me. So
yeah, he definitely like did some cool shit. I don't remember if he had any like issues in his personal life or whatever, but I do remember seeing a documentary about him a few years back. That was like pretty impressive where he would just like go talk to Klan members and be like, yo, why do you hate me? So I've done that a few times, not like with Klan members, but like I lived in the South, and so like there were a lot of people with like SS tattoos and stuff like that. And I even like as a white woman have like ended up in situations where I did feel like my life might be at risk. So for a black man to put himself in that situation is like, whew, that's impressive of him. That's very impressive. Man's got balls.
Instead of saying, I will be your friend so you will change, that's not actually how I feel. The way I actually feel is, I will be your friend regardless of our disagreements because all humans have value and deserve to be treated like humans. Now, I know I use the word all, but there's actually limits and there's nuance and actually barriers. The first barrier to becoming my friend is meeting me in the first place. I am super duper isolated. I am super duper introverted. I know my persona, like on air shows contrary. People who know me in real life would not argue these points. Also, honestly, I have huge trust issues. Some of them are not rational.
Is that like an appeal to authority? Like, oh, trust me, if you met people that I know, IRL. Like, so?
I think a lot of it stems from the trauma of losing most of my community when I left Mormonism. But I'm definitely super paranoid about whether or not, I know I'm gonna fucking, this one's hard. I'm super paranoid about whether or not people only like me in as much as they can use me. And also, I am painfully aware that I'm flawed. And so yes, I have ended friendships mostly over breaches of trust. although almost never just the first time, unless it's a big one. It won't mean that I wish ill will on the person. In fact, I've still promoted people after our friendship ended in the past, but I do have my limits.
Okay.
Also, there's a huge problem with how
Is
we
that
use a
about
lot
Brenda?
of words.
For those of you who don't know, Brenda was a friend of his. He said some shit about Brenda that was inappropriate, and she kind of cut ties with him. And then after that, it was kind of awkward because he was still promoting her channel on his channel when she had cut ties with him. And I wonder if that wasn't like extra awkward for her, where she was like, I'm like, he's still so obsessed that he's still like promoting my channel. Like, that's a little bit weird.
That just they don't go, basically, the word friendship or friend, it's too universal of a word. We don't accurately and satisfactorily describe levels of friendship with the word friend.
Yeah.
So here I also want to note, why has it taken so long for me to address this all? And it's simple. I was not.
That's why we have like words like acquaintances and mates. You know, I've got some acquaintances, I've got some mates, and I've got a few friends, and even fewer close friends. See how you can combine words like that and use it as better descriptors?
Not ready before now.
I understand that.
If I had rushed and just apologized for everything people said they disagreed with, it wouldn't have been genuine.
I get that.
I needed to be able to cool off from the defensive state I was in and get to a place where I could really start considering and listening and truthfully, like, I hope I'm there now.
Good on you.
But this is, I don't know if I am. But there's been a sense of urgency lately that I'm kind of taking a shot at it as soon as I feel like maybe I'm ready to go. So I don't know if I'm all the way there yet. I don't know. Okay, sorry. There's so much. I promise we're getting closer to specifically the Gabby and Rachel stuff. There's a couple more things that need to come first because we need them to make those sections do justice.
Okay, that's fair.
I really feel like I need to address a super common accusation that people are starting to make even videos about, which is that I use autism as a shield. And this is one of the things where I am fully going to reject this. It's one of the few things in here I'm fully going to reject, but I'm going to tell you why. Yes, I have 100% talked about my autism to explain why I might have said something, why I might have not understood something in its original context, but I have never once said that you have to excuse a thing that I've done to someone because I'm autistic. I will absolutely use it as an explanation, but I don't believe I have ever used it as an excuse. I even had one very critical person reach out and tell me that they're autistic and that they learned that they have to apologize to neurotypical people when they had no idea what they were saying or doing was wrong, but literally because they couldn't know. But that it's still good to do and to apologize and say, I'm sorry I did that. Not anything like I'm sorry for how.
Does he think that like neurodivergent people are like incapable of understanding what we did wrong? Like, okay, so my spouse and I have like learned how to navigate this a little bit because sometimes I will say shit that pisses her off. And I legit don't know what I said. I have no idea. Like, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I did. I don't know what the context was. Sometimes I don't even know like when it happened. I was just like, wait, what? When did we get upset? And I will have to go to her and I'll be like, hey, can you please explain what happened? Right? And like, she can explain it and then I can understand, oh, okay, like I said that thing and it was hurtful because of this or whatever. Like, one thing about autistic people is we're very analytical and we will analyze the shit out of some shit. Okay. So like, yeah, sometimes I need you to explain it to me. And like, I'm going to apologize before you even explain it to me. I don't even know why. I'm sorry. I hurt your feelings. I am sorry that I hurt your feelings. That was not my intention. Can you please explain to me what I did to hurt your feelings so that I don't do it in the future? Because like, I don't want to do that. That's why I'm apologizing for it. Sorry. Angry noises ensued there. All right, back to it.
How it made you feel. And I gotta tell you, I fucking disagree so hard with that sentiment. That is to me saying that I need to apologize and that autistic people need to apologize because we need to accept that the world belongs to neurotypicals and that we have to go out of our way just to think about them and make them comfortable.
No, the world belongs to everybody and it's our responsibility, just as it is neurotypical people's responsibility, to like try and get along with everyone. And guess what? Neurodivergent people are a minority. And so sometimes we do have to defer to the neurotypical people because like that's literally what typical means, is it's like they're in the majority. And so like most people are neurotypical. So like, yes, we do need to try and get along with neurotypical people. sometimes more than neurotypical people are forced to try and get along with neurodivergent people. So yes, sometimes we do share more than we shoulder more than our fair share of that burden. I will say that. But like that like that doesn't mean that like it's not our responsibility to get along with people. Like, oh, we can just piss people off and like be totally rude and like not worry about if we don't know what we did wrong, then we don't need to worry about apologizing for it. Like, this is fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit, Jemmy.
Which, by the way, we already do so much when we're masking.
Yeah.
So this to me,
exactly. We do it all the time. We get along with people. Like that's what we do. Neurotypical people do it too.
It's the controversial, like conversational equivalent of telling a paraplegic person that they need to apologize for needing an elevator. But actually the fucked up thing is,
no. No, that's not an equivalent, Jemmy. Like, that's not an equivalent. Like, oh my gosh. That's like asking a paraplegic person to apologize for rolling over your foot with their wheelchair. Like, maybe they didn't realize that they did it because they were talking to the person next to them and they were just wheeling along and they didn't realize that they did it. But they could understand what they did wrong and apologize for it. Ooh, I'm going to get heated.
I actually know paraplegic people, and I know some of them do apologize for things like that, for things they can't control.
That's dumb. That's basically not what we're asking you to do, Jimmy.
For some, it's just internalized, and for others, it's just plain ableism. But I will say, even knowing all of that, if I know that I have made a person feel wronged, even by something that I couldn't conceive of being wrong, I will still try to fix it. And I will still, hopefully, through explain.
If it's something that you can't even conceive of it being wrong, then like, you either need to like evaluate whether or not it was wrong, evaluate how it is that they felt like it was wrong. Maybe they felt like it was wrong because of like faulty logic, and you don't need to apologize for that. But like assess where it is that it came from and understand like, okay, that was faulty logic on their part, but like moving on. Like, no, you don't need to apologize for shit. Like a paraplegic does not need to apologize for needing an elevator or not being able to like walk. You know, like that's ridiculous.
Explaining what I meant, try to fix it. But I'm not going to not bring up my autism when it's relevant. So yes, the autism shield thing, this one was really fucking me up.
And you can bring up your autism when it's relevant, but you bring it up a lot of times when it's not relevant. Like, just like you bring up being pansexual a lot of times when it's not relevant. Because you're using it as like oh, here's my card. Here's my queer card. Here's my autism card. Here's my excuse card. This isn't a game of Monopoly. Like, we need to get along with other people.
It was super shitty. And I've spoken a lot about it to
you can't just get upset and flip the board and walk away. It's life.
My therapist. And basically my conclusion, not necessarily theirs, though I feel like they would agree, is that I think it was brought up to help people excuse ignoring things about my diagnosis. And so they could use traditionally ableist speech like, it's not autism, you're just an asshole. Which, by the way, is a super common ableist phrase that autistics get to hear all the time.
But like, sometimes you are just being an asshole. Like, as a neurodivergent person, I can tell you, like, sometimes it might be like neurodivergence related, but sometimes I am just being an asshole. And guess what? I'm capable of understanding when that happens.
All right, let's talk about what a lot of you are here for. My fan interactions. And technically it's in a minority of them, but lately it's...
I did not know about this until last night, but apparently there were like some sexually motivated fan interactions, which like... But let's hear what he has to say. We're at the 29-minute mark.
It seemed like a lot more. They've not been great. More specifically, my interactions with fans and...
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the follow, Crazy Skullman 82. Welcome to the channel.
Commenters who are being confrontational. And I'm working on it, kind of like what I was talking about before in therapy. That doesn't mean that I don't think that many of the times I said fuck off aren't justified at all regarding like the conversation itself, but I definitely had forgotten the same thing that I asked Rachel to do, to not forget. I forgot that there are humans on the other side. And so
I think maybe this was when they said that he was like directly referring to shit that I had said in my previous video, this might be the other thing. And again, I don't think that I'm the only person who said this, but I did like pull back up his quote that he said to Rachel and was like, "Hey, Jimmy, remember when you called me douchey? Remember how like there's people on the other side of those numbers?" Yeah, just saying.
So to anyone I hurt by treating them basically like they were a Twitter bot, that was fucked up. And I was wrong.
That was also months before this, just FYI. That was, I think, his first show with Dom covering for him on the Sometime show was when he called me douchey. So maybe he had a tummy ache or whatever at the time. I don't know.
And I am sorry. And this is a character flaw of mine, and it's a tough one.
Also, is anybody else watching this and wondering, like, if Collins Street Bakery is like a little bit upset that he's like wearing the Corsicana fruitcake, like deluxe fruitcake shirt, and they're like, "No, why are you wearing our shirt?" I don't know. I just a side note. Sorry, this is a side tangent, but
when I get defensive, I get angry, and plenty of my logical faculties basically take a break. But again, I want you to know I'm working on that.
I feel like there's a lot of people who are like that, though. It's like when we get defensive, we get angry. And I am the same way. And I will like angry cry. And I think that's kind of where he's at right now is like he's um, a little bit like close to the angry cry moment. And it is scripted, but I do like still feel his emotion coming through.
I know I'm a person who's going to be in therapy my whole life.
My emotion,
and I will never be perfect, even on the last day. I mean, I know that's hard to believe because as we've all declared, I'm the reincarnated Jesus. I just needed like some kind of joke break here right now. Doesn't really feel like it landed though.
That's fair.
It's hard to know. Anyway, my therapist also pointed out to me.
I'm glad that he realized that that is a hard joke. Nobody really thinks you're the reincarnated Jesus, Jimmy. I also do want to acknowledge, again, like giving credit where credit is due. I think that it is good for him to acknowledge that he's going to be in therapy for the rest of his life. I am also a person who's probably going to be in therapy for the rest of my life. And you know what? That is a difficult thing to accept. That like you're mentally ill and you're going to be mentally ill forever. For me, first having to come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have to take pills literally every day for the rest of my life. That was a hard one to come to terms with. And once I came to terms with that, it was like therapy is just like another level of treatment for me. But sorry, itchy nose. I think for some people that is different. Like saying, okay, I need to take a pill every day. Like, well, you know, people who have heart disease need to take a pill every day. But like saying that like you need to go to therapy, that there's something wrong with you, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, um, that's maybe a harder step for a lot of people. So I do want to acknowledge that that is a positive thing that he is realizing that that's something that he's going to need as long-term treatment. It's not something that you get treatment for and you get over it and you move on. Now, to be fair, I have seen some studies recently about children, very, very young children between the ages of 2 and 4 being diagnosed with autism and then later losing that diagnosis. That is a thing that happens. It typically only happens with very, very small children. And there's studies are thinking that it might have to do with like, you know, early on getting into like behavioral therapy and stuff like that. But there's really not like, there's no direct link that they have been able to like connect thus far, but it is, almost always, in just small children. And it might be that it was an incorrect diagnosis to begin with or whatever. So I want to say that I'm not discounting that there are people who were once diagnosed as autistic and are now not autistic, but that is not typically a thing that happens with neurodivergent individuals, particularly pretty much never happens with adults. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Me how much power a condemnation might have from a public figure. So while I know I'm a goddamn nobody, like to myself, the person I'm fighting with on the other side of this is in a power imbalance. And that makes the weight of my words a lot heavier. And so I have to be a lot more responsible. This conversation with the conversation I had with my therapist also changed my opinion on some things that led to this whole situation. For example, if I'm being honest, I now think it would have been better for Gabby to have not engaged or gone after Rachel at all. Now I kind of already felt a little that way, but like I didn't like some of the ways that she had gone for Rachel, and I didn't like a lot.
Anytime that you have an author of any type of work, whether it's poetry or nonfiction or whatever, going after a critic, somebody who's critiquing their work, that's wrong. Okay? It doesn't matter like what genre it is. It doesn't matter whether it is in the newspaper reviews or if it's a YouTube review or what. Like, no, as the author of a work, you never go after a critic. Never. You never send people after a critic. Like, no. Like that is where you begin to eat away at the integrity of critics, of like the genre of critiquing media, as it were. Like, no, you don't ever go attack critics for their critiques. No, no, never. You never do it. And I feel like, Jimmy, that should be something that like you're aware of as an artist to begin with. Like, don't you know in the artistic community, if you have somebody who's critiquing your art, you do not go after that like you don't go after the critic.
Of the word she had used. But I wasn't as offended by the idea that somebody went after someone they felt like brought negativity in their life. I was definitely wrong about that. I now believe that she should have just let the thing go.
Good.
And a lot of that because of she has a way larger platform than Rachel. And that does matter. I've also learned more about the human impact of things
It
that
doesn't,
before
it
I would have
doesn't.
just called YouTube drama. I've learned a lot more about how Rachel must have felt with all of that hate coming her way. And I'm horrified that I didn't know before. Unfortunately, no one knows. No one knows until you go through it. You don't know how you'll feel, and you certainly don't fucking know how you're gonna act. Don't get me wrong, YouTube drama definitely does still exist though. That's for sure. But I will say that I dismiss too much as just being YouTube drama. And it came off elitist because I was sort of acting as though I was above it all. Now, the good news is, as far as when I got in these fights, not that many people come to my defense when people come for me. And part of that's because I try to never like weaponize my fans to come to my aid. I don't, retweet somebody being a jerk if it's just a random person. I think I don't do that. I know someone's gonna go find a tweet from last year where it's like, you did it that time. And if I did, I fucking suck, man. But again, I'm gonna do better going forward.
I don't have any
examples
myself, but
I'm not gonna be perfect. But I will tell you that I'm not gonna be perfect, and there might be more blocks. Honestly, like changing this probably means there will be more blocks in certain places, at least as a policy, not necessarily like overall number. Because
why, Jimmy? Like, are you acknowledging that it was wrong to block people, or are you not acknowledging that? Explain.
I feel like I've realized I shouldn't be fighting with people, even if they're trying to be antagonistic or saying things I completely disagree with, if they are from my audience, if they are from that small base. And obviously, if we're talking
because it never helps you. You as somebody who like obviously suffers mentally and emotionally from this, it never helps you. It never makes you look good in the comments, and B, it doesn't help you personally.
Really harmful things. That's completely different. But people being antagonistic toward me, I shouldn't be fighting with them.
Right.
But I'm also not going to be continually exposing myself to the negativity that comes on repeat or let them use my platforms to spread negativity about me.
So he's talking about blocking people that share the talk freely about Jimmy or speak freely about Jimmy. Damn it, I should look it up. But I kind of get that, I guess. But like, I don't know. I'm going to run it back because I want to get all that in context.
If they are from my audience, if they are from that small base, and obviously if we're talking about really harmful things, that's completely different. But people being antagonistic toward me, I shouldn't be fighting with them. But I'm also not going to be continually exposing myself to the negativity that comes on repeat or let them use my platforms to spread negativity about me.
But okay, that like you still don't need to be like interacting with people though. Like if people are like being antagonistic towards you, like okay, fine, delete the comment, whatever. If they're like attacking you and not attacking your views, as we've talked about, not attacking your opinions, if they're attacking you as a person, like okay, delete the comment, whatever. Or block them if it's like a repeated offense. But like people should be allowed to like realize like the blocking the Reddit thread. Like I kind of get it and I kind of don't. He's saying, "Oh, that's just like spreading hate about him." No, it's spreading people's ability to speak freely about you. Now, granted that is like that entire thread is all hate about you because like there is a place to like talk positively about you already. So it's not really like they need a place to talk positively about you, Jimmy, because we can all sing your praises in your comment section and get little hearts from Jimmy about it. But if they make comments saying things that are negative, they get deleted. I feel two ways about it. Mostly, I think I'm okay with him like flagging those types of things, I guess. But like, when he is going after people and arguing with people in his own comment section, like, yeah, buddy, if they're idiots, like they're gonna show their own ass. Okay, let them show their own ass. You don't need to do it for them.
I can't do anything about their platforms. And actually, I believe in freedom of speech, even
Good.
when a person is lying, and even when a person is lying about me. Unfortunately, that's
Who's lying? You still have yet to tell us what any of these lies are. What is it that people said that was a lie?
just the way it has to be. Unfortunately, that's the best system we got.
I mean, am I wrong? Has he cited a single lie yet? Because I have not heard him say, "Oh, people lied and said this happened and that didn't happen." Am I wrong?
So, losing my voice a little bit. It's been rough, man. It's been rough. There's kind of reasons why it's been going out. I want to say to anybody that I told to fuck off, I'm sorry for doing it. I really am. This feels like there's going to be a but. It's like, I know that with a few people, it felt so.
It definitely felt like there was going to be a but there. That really felt disingenuous, didn't it? He didn't say it to me, but like, if you're somebody he told to fuck off, let me know. Did this feel genuine?
Warranted. And it's hard to get past those few people and go like, okay, but even if it felt warranted for those, it wasn't for so many. And honestly, even the people I felt warranted for, it wasn't warranted to be public. So even the ones that I was really mad at,
Good.
I really
Glad you recognize that.
I am sorry. And I fucking feel bad. And I feel like there's a lot of people who, when they bring this stuff up, like to compare it to ways I must have been in the past as a Mormon. And the hard part is like,
yeah,
I can kind of evaluate just that criticism and go like, sure, that from Mormonism, I kind of.
Quote from Chase Hughes. If you saw my stream yesterday, you heard me talk about this. All of our behaviors as an adult are the result of trauma and rewards from our childhood. You grew up as a Mormon in a Mormon household. That those trauma and reward systems were instilled by a Mormon household. So yeah, you're never going to get away from that. That was instilled in you as a child, and here you are as an adult still reacting to those things in that same way. And yes, therapy can help with that somewhat, but like, all of those core behaviors are all from our childhood.
See it, but it sucks, man. And this is where this all comes in, to be told when you know how much work you've done.
I also said that in front of my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh shit." She's like, "Really? That's fucked up."
That you basically are just still a Mormon. And I shouldn't be even telling you all the comments that hurt me the most, because now it's literally going to become like.
No, okay. But here's the thing. So I was in Pony Club when I was a kid. Like, I spent like so many hours doing Pony Club shit when I was a kid. And I'm not still an equestrian. I haven't ridden a horse in years, but there is a part of like my wiring that is still wired as an equestrian. I'll give you an example. When I drive, I lean through my turns because I learned how to ride horses before I learned how to drive a car. And when you're riding a horse, you lean into turns. So, yes, like that wiring, if it hasn't served me wrongly, if I haven't like learned how to like remove that behavior and that wiring from my life, it's still there. The things that served you well that you got from Mormonism, that like being able to put on a persona and like turning it on when you're on camera, that kind of thing, being able to like argue with people that like you don't necessarily agree with, those things, if they don't serve you poorly, you will continue to do them. And that's what we're seeing here.
People's favorite things to write. Maybe that'll help me get over it though. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just am. I am sorry. As a quick note, I will also talk.
You know what I would like an apology for, Jimmy? I would like an apology for you saying that all of the drama channels and commentary channels have like spread lies and false narratives about you, because we are 35 minutes into this video and you have yet to mention one actual lie or false narrative that we have spread about you.
About how I feel about friendships and dating fans, since we're talking generally about fan interactions. It's come up a little bit, both of them. So here is that. Let me start off by saying that in both cases, friendships and dating, it's tricky. And as a public figure, you have to go out of your way to make sure you aren't violating a power imbalance. I'll also say this, some of my best friendships have begun with fans and people who discover me. It's also hard too, because this word fans, we have this image in our mind, and like friends, for a lot of people, when I say fans, I'm literally talking about someone who's like, I really enjoyed hearing you say what I think and how I feel. But it's hard for me.
That's basically what fans are. Like, I don't feel like I have any like fans or anything, but I have Well, no, I take that back. I think that I do have like a handful of fans who have like said to me like, "Hey, I really like your content. I really enjoyed this. This made me feel like I was heard. This made me feel, that type of thing." And um I do appreciate that. I really, really do. But like that doesn't mean that like I'm above criticism.
Me to regret, like there's some people who just think that there's no way to do this. And I've met some of the people I just care so much about and like the most in the world in that world. And so it's hard to convince me that I should regret.
Like that doesn't mean that like you're above them and that you can't interact with them. And also I think it kind of depends on like where your channel is, like when you're meeting them also.
I should regret any of that. I'm trying to do this whole thing in one take and I feel like I might get the hiccups and that would definitely interrupt that. Having friends with similar values is always an awesome thing. And for myself, though I don't think you should only have friends with similar values, but it's great to have. And for myself, the fact that my channel isn't really that big, which maybe is just my subjective opinion, I've literally never felt like it was that big. I think that I always eyeball 1 million as like, that's when it's kind of getting big, but it's subjective.
Just because like you eyeball it at 1 million, like how many millions of channels are there on YouTube? And the vast majority of them are much, much smaller than yours. You're in that upper percentage. Let's see, I don't know. I don't have his social blade up. But like where oh sorry. That's my content. Thought that I had. Let's see. I had it over here. So yeah, okay. I don't know if I can drag this into there. Okay. User summary. He's 74,818th or 16,000th. Depending on however it is that you want to like, but either way, he's like in the upper 1%. There's over like 7 million channels on YouTube, or I think it's 4 million channels on YouTube, right? He's in the upper 1%. So even if he doesn't think that this is like a big channel, the fact that he even has a social blade grade and the fact that like the social blade grade is above a D, like says that he is a pretty big channel. Pretty freaking huge channel, right? Whether or not you recognize that or not. He's over 100,000 subscribers. To a lot of people, it's like when they make it to 1,000 subscribers, that is huge. That is huge for a lot of channels. And you're literally hundreds of times past that. But okay, you're a small channel. Got it. Oop. I keep messing it up. There we go.
But I haven't worried that much about making friendships and whether that could be unethical unless I actually were to do something shitty, like trying to leverage my platform for favors or adoration. Like, hey, if you do this for me, you're going to get a shout out. And I've tried to avoid doing that. Not just tried, I've definitely avoided doing that the entire time. Even the artists that I'd hired and did a shout out on the channel, I also paid them and I paid them their rate. Also, anybody who meets me in person is honestly even.
Yeah, but he's like done where he did like crossover stuff and cross promotion and stuff a lot to begin with. So like that's part of how he grew his channel after he started to get recognized with like the Paul and Morgan and Girl Define shit. And then he started doing like collabs with other channels is how he got big. So what?
Like by person, I also mean over Zoom or something. Meeting me quickly disillusions you. Like, you know those creators that like say they're just a normal guy off the camera? That is not me. I am weird as fuck when the camera turns off, and my social performances often change at the drop of a hat. I am much more low-key of a person, and honestly, I think in person I'm pretty boring. But I think the trick with being friends with most people, with people who first met you as fans, is being aware that an imbalance could be there and just never try to exploit it. But because it's also come up recently, I'll address dating fans also. First of all, I'll say this. I think it is absolutely possible for a person to date or have a casual relationship for someone who started as their fan. Again.
No. No. Okay. For those of you who are unawares, I have an ex who's a public figure. I'm not going to get into who he was, how I knew who he was. I was a fan of much of his work before I met him. Guess what? It led to like a weird power imbalance the entire time in our relationship, where I wouldn't say that he was like abusive towards me, but there were things in our relationship where I didn't feel like I could stand up for myself because there was that power imbalance there, because he was a public figure, and how could I stand up for myself and accuse him of being wrong in those situations when I knew like all of his fans would be there for him. And um again, that's why I'm not saying who it is, because like he did have kind of a large platform, bigger than Jimmy. Um but like that did eventually lead to the downfall of our relationship, because it didn't feel fair on all accounts. I felt like all of my life was spent either pretending that I was a personal assistant instead of a girlfriend, because it wasn't appropriate for him to have his girlfriend in that situation, or just supporting his persona. And it was not something that was conducive to a long term relationship. Now, was it like a bad relationship? Do I regret that relationship? No. To be frank, it was really like I've described it as a one night stand that lasted like 3.5 years. Like it, we had a good time, and we're still good friends, and I don't regret that time with him. But it was never anything that could be looked at as a long term relationship. So depending on where he's going with this, if he's saying like it's something like, oh yeah, you could like have a long-term relationship with somebody who is a fan, no, no, not unless that dynamic changes over time.
Acknowledging
In
that
my
fan
opinion.
means too many things. There is a class of fans I don't agree with that on. But I also think it's still tricky, and my thoughts have changed over the years. Because do remember, I've only been big for like 2 years now.
Big.
And honestly, it's something I've learned as I've gone. So before that big 2 years, for the first year, I was so small that it wouldn't have even occurred to me to like think a power imbalance could exist. As long as it was a healthy, honest, and consensual relationship, that was good enough for me. And I mean,
I
that's
can
just how
see that.
relationships should be in general. But for me, I was just a dude that was making videos in his bedroom or living room.
Well, to me, it's like a lot of times it's that monetization mark. Really, it's that 1,000 subscribers mark that I think most YouTubers kind of see as the like, okay, here's where I'm kind of like putting a line and saying like, okay, you guys are subscribers or followers or whatever, but like we're not gonna like have that barrier of like we're gonna continue having this fourth wall basically.
Once things grew, I knew that there had to be a new emphasis on being completely open with intentions and possibilities, which obviously that's already a good possibility, but at a certain point you have to go out of your way more and probably have the conversation a few times. In that second year of my channel, I had a few very flirty relationships, some of which were explicit, though never in person, and others which were more romantic and felt like they could have become something a little bigger.
Okay, see, that's where I have a problem with it. If you were pursuing it as a romantic relationship, like, no, I don't agree with it. I don't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least one that felt like both, possibly. But things moved on. Distance was usually a factor, and looking back, I definitely think that I would tell my old self that some of them started with a heavy sexual aspect, again, at a distance, but a heavy sexual aspect that probably started there too soon. Because while it is like super validating to have someone reach out to you, especially if you're attracted to them.
Because like he did talk about early on that he was like, oh, subscribers are like sending me nudes and shit like that. Like, that's weird and creepy, and you should have shut that shit down. I'm just saying.
And they just ask you right off the bat if you want to see them naked. It would still have been better to put more time into a friendship,
But he was like acting like he was totally down with that.
Before, let them get to know the person behind
He was
the
like,
camera.
yeah, I'm a person. I'm a person who likes sexy pictures. You have my consent to send me sexy pictures.
And what I think, hindsight's always obviously 2020.
Didn't he say that like in a stream where he was like, yeah, I have officially consented to you sending me sexy pictures, right? He was like, I never have a problem with people sending me sexy pictures, but you need to make sure that people are consenting to that, like I am.
Again, I did always make sure to have a conversation about expectations and boundaries. That is something that I can say for sure happened every time. But I do think that I could have done more. I do absolutely think that it is possible.
Did you make sure that happened every time?
Possible, which brings me to the third year of my channel, so the third year of my channel has been mostly made up of my current relationship with some breaks that occurred in it and a period of some openness.
Okay, so they had like an open relationship, I guess, is what, like they first got together and it wasn't exclusive, and then like they split up, and when they got back together, it still wasn't exclusive, and then like maybe recently they made it exclusive, I guess. It sounds to me like what she was saying was she was like not okay with it not being exclusive from the start. She's like, I'm not okay with a not monogamous relationship. That's just not something that I feel comfortable with. But at the same time, I don't think that they were like committed right away. So is that something that like he was trying to pursue an open relationship with somebody who wasn't into an open relationship, or was she thought that maybe she was into an open relationship and then like later on realized that like she wanted something more monogamous? That's my question that I have there, but like that's not for me to know. That's for you to know, Jimmy. And it doesn't like you don't need to tell us. I mean, if you want to tell us and she's okay with you telling us, then like that's fine. But like you don't need to tell us. I might have to do another quick bathroom break here. Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, I have the world's tiniest bladder, so I'll be really quick. Be right back. Sorry, guys. I gotta have my coffee in the morning, and you know.
And so the conversations about boundaries and intentions definitely got better during those times, as did building friendships before getting too flirty with someone. But the hard part about my life in general is that I haven't met almost anyone in the last few years that wasn't somehow linked to my channel. Because again, I don't go out. I don't like going out. And so my current relationship is with someone who I am positive. She knows me better than anybody has honestly ever known me. She has a full understanding of who I am, and she does not.
But didn't she even say like there's a lot of like factual things about you that like your fans would know better than she does? No, I'm not saying that like knowing factual things about somebody is the same as knowing them emotionally and intimately, but like those things are important in an emotional, intimate relationship.
Not experience a power imbalance. But yes, when we matched on Tinder, she did already know who I was. She had seen some videos, and I would say it was that casual level of like, yeah, I like watching your videos.
So there was a power imbalance, right? I mean, like that's what you're saying is that like when you met a year ago, when you had hundreds of thousands of viewers, or at least tens of thousands, I'm not sure if it was in the hundreds of thousands yet. She had already seen your videos. Now, my understanding is somebody pointed this out to me recently that there is actually like there are dating apps specifically for people that are influencers that have like followings so that they are like basically matching with other people where it wouldn't be a power imbalance. I don't know how those work or like what those dating apps are, but that I feel like would be something if I was like single and had a platform of over 1,000 followers that I would definitely like look into, as opposed to just like getting on Tinder and being like, "Hey, have you seen my videos?" Like, no, like don't date people who've watched your content, but also let the people that you date watch your content.
Were I to ever be single again, which, you know, I hope that doesn't happen because I love my partner to the moon and back, but were I to be single again, I'm not 100% sure where I would be on all of this because I don't even have to consider all of it now because I'm not single.
I do think that that's healthy to like look at that and be like, okay, were I to ever end up being single again, blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's when I would like look into like one of those dating apps for influencers.
I would probably try dating disconnected from my channel now though, because I just wouldn't want to risk getting something wrong. So there's actually times where I had done this anyway. There are entire phases where I'd been repulsed.
Are there people who are like atheists who don't know who he is though? I guess maybe like my wife doesn't really know who he is. I this is kind of funny. I wanted to do this video wearing my Jimmy Snow merch, but wifey and I are about the same size, and she like wore my "It's Not About Cookware" shirt the other day, so it's in the laundry.
When a flirty person told me that they knew who I was. But yeah, I guess things got more nuanced over time. And I'm sure there are people who will think there's no way for people to be friends or romantic with fans. And I guess I just disagree. I don't agree with you. Also, I still have a hard time.
I think that relationship has to like develop. It can't just be like for me and my ex. Yes, I was a fan of his work, and then like we ended up actually like working together on a project, and through working together on a project, like realized that we had some like mutual attraction. Now again, that was great for a one night stand, but as far as like a long term relationship, it didn't work out, and it was never going to work out.
I'm coming to terms with that there is a power imbalance. I'm not discounting that it exists. It does exist. But seriously, if you knew me, you would know I genuinely feel like such a nobody in my personal life that it is hard to perceive.
So did my ex. That doesn't mean that he was a nobody, and that doesn't mean that he treated me like he was a nobody.
Sometimes that
it was one of those things where I still remember this one instance where I can like sum it up in one moment. And he was like Jimmy, that he was like, he didn't feel like he was above me, and he didn't really feel like there was a power imbalance. But one time he was like upset and walking past me through the hallway to get to the bedroom, where he was just like, I'm going to the bedroom to like close the door and be by myself. And as he walked through, he kept his shoulders square and expected me to get out of the way for him. And I didn't. In that moment, I was like, I'm not getting out of your way. I'm not somebody who's in your way. And he got upset with me as if I had like shoulder checked him. And it was like, no, you just shoulder checked me and you got upset with me about it.
A power imbalance could exist. This has been true across the board. Like, as I mentioned, with being unkind to people I felt attacked by. I think that part of that was motivated by not really understanding anything beyond this person is on Twitter and I'm on Twitter, and not going beyond that. So all of that.
Sorry, this is bringing up a little bit of emotions because I feel like that shoulder check was like what kind of led to the end of the relationship. It was like you literally felt like I was in the wrong. But like that's the type of thing that can happen.
I was just talking about with relationships definitely ties back in. Okay, now to the bigger points that have been popular accusations that were coming my way. Sorry for all the water breaks. There's a very popular.
It's cool. I got them too, buddy.
One that has popped up that I, Jimmy Snow, am a rape apologist. This is another one that I reject 100%. I resent.
Nobody said that you were a rape apologist. We just said that you were friends with a rape apologist.
The assertion, and I am honestly contemptuous of those who say this. First of all, the word apologist does not refer to apologies, which I see a lot of people who think it does and don't even understand why they're using that phrase.
We understand what rape apology is, Jimmy.
Apologist refers to apologetics. That is a practice. Yeah, it is the practice of defending and justifying controversial topics. It's most commonly a term used to refer to people who defend religious concepts, things that seem very barbaric and illogical. For example, apologists are those who would try to defend biblical slavery or that free will exists or things like that from a religious standpoint. Yeah, usually those apologetics come with like a lot of baggage. So I'm going to be very upfront now. There was a time in my life I absolutely was a rape apologist. That is actually true of a past iteration of me. Now, I think that almost entirely existed when I was a Mormon, and that was something I had to lose when I got out of Mormonism. And rape apologetics are the kinds of things that I literally dedicate so much time to on fighting on my channel.
And yet you're friends with a rape apologist.
Like when I fight the transformed wife who says that marital rape is impossible, that you can't be raped by your husband. It's automatically consented to. Or when I fight implications from people like Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined who like to write off a lot about the culture and what is happening on the basis of like, well, women were wearing such and such, so.
Or like when Gabby Hanna goes out and tweets about how thousands of girls in her hometown went out and made false rape accusations, and how she thinks that like Jesse Smiles is also making fake rape accusations, right? Like that would be another example of rape apology.
You know,
right?
We have to hold them responsible too.
Exactly.
To be a rape apologist is to justify, to defend, or excuse rape. And that is not something I do. And I insist that people who do something like that can change. And I'm not going to let somebody define me by mistakes that I.
Or defend a rapist. Not just defend rape, but defend a rapist. That's another example.
I was brainwashed and abused with in my past. But then I also get accused of defending.
Well, let's pull out the poor me character, or the poor me card.
Or supporting a rape apologist, specifically Gabby Hanna.
Yeah.
And so I want to say this first. One, being a friends person, that's being a person's friend,
Yeah.
that does not mean that you condone a single action of theirs.
No, but it does mean that like you condone like their overall philosophy on life.
And I also think that every single person watching, every person probably in existence, has at least one friend or family member with a super shitty view.
Yeah. I have at least one family member that I can think of with a kind of shitty view. An uneducated view. Um, that doesn't mean that like I go out and advocate for them though. In fact, no, I'm not even going to get into that story.
Now, I'm definitely aware that Gabby has had some real bad takes in the past. Horrible. I know that there was a time she didn't believe a certain friend about being raped, and that she also expressed a sentiment about most rapes being lied about and other things.
Okay. And she has not apologized for that or addressed it since. She has, in fact, made statements to back that up, that she still friggin' agrees with that.
I also know that people who've gone through similar experiences have been severely hurt by those sentiments by Gabby. And when it comes to the term itself, it is one I don't take lightly. And I admit I have trouble assigning it to people. Even knowing that past takes can be bad, I always want to evaluate those current takes.
But she has done nothing to show us that her current takes are any different than her past takes. You need to like show us evidence that you have changed. Otherwise, the only thing that we have to go on is your prior evidence. Same thing that you said about friggin' Girl Defined and their shit about like what was it? There was a video that they made about queers, as we're calling them here. And they didn't redact that, right? They had made blog posts and they hadn't said anything since then. And your take on it was, well, since they haven't shown us any evidence that they have changed, the only thing that we have to go on is the past evidence that they have given us. Well, Jimmy, when it comes to Gabby, she has not shown us any evidence of change. So the only thing that we have to go on is the past evidence of her being a rape apologist.
On this one, I don't know. I don't know what I feel on that. But this doesn't mean that I think Gabby's done nothing wrong, that Gabby doesn't deserve criticism. However, I'm not going to be making public videos laying out Gabby's sins because there's already hundreds of those.
Yeah.
There are literally hundreds of videos doing that, maybe thousands.
Yeah, exactly. And if all of us were like money grabbers, view grabbers, people who are just like out here to like get a view by using your name, we would be using her name too, because she has an even bigger audience than you. But are we? No, actually, because we already knew that she was a shitty person. So it wasn't like she stabbed us in the back by being a shitty person. We thought that like you were like a legit cool dude, and then you stabbed us in the back by being a shitty person.
And while I know people don't think she deserves the consideration, to tell you the truth, I do worry about her mental health. I have a hard time when people use the phrase, you're supporting or defending a rape apologist also. Because the implication there is that when you use the phrase like that, it makes it sound like I am defending the actions related to rape apologetics, which anyone who has watched my channel knows I would never do that.
No,
and once again,
we're saying that you're defending her, who is indeed a rape apologist, that we have evidence for her being a rape apologist. Like, that's what we mean when we say you're defending a rape apologist. You are defending a person who is shown to be a rape apologist. How is that difficult for you to understand, Jimmy?
I know it was true about me years ago, and the people who changed my mind were actually mostly progressive women. If they could handle staying friends with me, then I feel like
they were actually progressive women. Why do you say that? Like it's such a surprise that like women can change their mind about something, Jimmy.
I can handle it too. And I'm going to continue doing that, believing that being friends with people with messed up views, again, there are limits. I certainly wouldn't befriend an actual rapist.
But a rape apologist is okay.
But I believe being friends with people with bad views, even bad views about serious topics, leads to a better world. I'm in no way trying to be a saint. I'm not trying to virtue signal when I say I want to be a positive part of a person's life. And
how is that not virtue signaling? So I'm a person who has been accused of virtue signaling like lots of times. Like maybe this sign back here, I don't know, that might have something to do with it. Whatever. Here's the thing. Sometimes it's good to signal what your virtues are. Now, yes, like there is that negative connotation towards the term virtue signaling. And yes, there is a type of virtue signaling where it is like you're just like showing that like your support or whatever, and you're not actually doing any like performative action to like back that up. Like, absolutely. But like sometimes it only takes like 2 seconds to be like, hey, by the way, this is how I feel about shit. And like, not every instance of virtue signaling is negative, in my opinion.
I know people will think that I am naive, but I really do want.
Just like when people started calling like everybody like social justice warriors, they were like, you're an SJW. Like, okay. Sometimes like social justice does need somebody to like fight for it. Sometimes social justice warriors are okay. And that's kind of how I felt from the start. But there was like this whole like kickback of like, oh, anti SJW, blah, 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 blah. And then like now the pendulum has begun to swing back and people are like, oh, well, I mean, we do need people to like fight for social justice. So
Want to be the person to others that other people were to me. So now let's talk about the most common accusation.
I'm all for giving people the space to make the change. I am all for giving people the space to make the change. I have said this about Joe Rowling in my previous videos where I've talked about the transphobic comments that she has made and how I feel like in a lot of cases she is ignorant and uninformed. And I do want to leave her the space to change her mind. I would like to tell my nieces and nephews in 10 years the story about Joe Rowling and how she opened our eyes to being tolerant and understanding of each other, and that we were able to open her eyes to a new level of tolerance and understanding to each other, and how like that came full circle. I would love, 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 love to tell my nieces and nephews that story. I'm still waiting for that to happen. And as of now, I'm like collecting used copies of the HP series so that I'm not putting further money in Joe Rowling's pocket at the moment. But I might have to explain that series to my nieces and nephews in a different way than I would like to. I might have to explain to them that, like, while this is a series that is about tolerance and understanding, that there are some faults in it, and the author is a flawed human, and we're all flawed humans. And I might have to explain it in a different light, but like that's what leaving people the space to change is about, you know, is recognizing when they were wrong and giving them the space to change.
Picked Gabby Hanna over Rachel because Rachel posted a critical video of Gabby's poetry. So let me start with something I definitely did wrong. I just shouldn't have said anything to Rachel about the review, even though my intentions were absolutely pure.
No, you shouldn't have said anything to Rachel about the review unless you'd read the book. Like, you shouldn't have like gotten into it at all. Period. Like the
only reason why I brought it up was because
how you should have gotten involved in it is read the book.
Because, believe it or not, empathy, something that I used to think I didn't have enough of, and then learning how it works with autistic people, lately I feel like I have too much.
You see my previous video, you've seen my opinion of this, and yeah, I this might again be like where he was saying about like how I have said that he is like fooling his therapist. What you show to your therapist is all they see, right? So if you're showing like this overwhelming amount of empathy that like you're bringing to therapy, that's all they're going to see, and they're going to think that you're like this totally empathetic person. But if you're not actually like having that empathy like IRL every day, like that might not be accurate to like how you're actually feeling. So um yeah. Yeah. It might feel like, "Oh gosh, I have like this overwhelming this overflowing of empathy whenever I'm in therapy because my therapist is bringing up all of these things that I didn't realize that I should be empathetic towards." Um but again, it's not like autistic people have like more or less empathy than other people. Like, empathy is not related to autism. Like, it's not.
If everything people say about Gabby is true, she still doesn't deserve all the hatred that she receives. And I said that in the last video, and I'm not kidding. People disagreed, which is insane to me because she literally gets threats of murder and threats of rape. And then anytime she posts a video, hundreds of comments immediately telling her she's horrible or a piece of shit or whatever else.
Okay, here's the thing. is when she posts videos like calling people a bully and shit like that, like she like no, I don't think that people should be posting threats and stuff like that. But her criticism is warranted.
within moments before anyone could have watched the video at all. But I don't think
Actual criticism, not like I said, not like hateful comments, not like threats of violence, threats of rape, like stuff. No, no, none of that. But like people like have legitimate reasons why they're upset.
anything Rachel was making was even.
You're acting like they're just like outraged for literally no reason. And like they have a reason why they're outraged. Sorry.
And then anytime she posts a video, hundreds of comments immediately telling her she's horrible or a piece of shit or whatever else within moments before anyone could have watched the video at all. But I don't think anything Rachel was making was.
Also, we know like whenever you post a video and like it's literally within moments of the videos being posted, we know that you're watching those comments straight off. So if we're trying to like comment something, it might be about stuff that you've said in previous videos. But if we're trying to like get your attention or whatever, because like you don't necessarily respond to your Patreon messages and stuff like that, then like people might comment try and comment early on the video to address something that you've talked about in previous videos because they know that you're going to read those early comments.
Even in the same realm of stuff like that. I will once again state now, I am not defending a single action or video.
So again, like people doing that for Gabby, like they might just literally be like trying to like make her feel bad. And that's wrong. People should not be doing that. And I don't condone that. That's not the issue that we have with her though. Like those aren't the same people who are saying, hey, Jimmy, like there's a problem here. They're not the same people.
But I am defending that despite how the internet might feel, that Gabby still deserves to be treated like a human because she is one. That does not mean do not extend consequences. It's a very nuanced topic for sure.
Duh.
It does not mean ignoring bad things she's done.
It's not that nuanced, Jimmy. You treat every person like a human and you don't support or befriend people with values that are disgusting. It's not that nuanced.
I also now know how hard it is when you are being exposed to constant negativity and how your mental health can go completely down the toilet.
Then get off the internet.
Mine definitely has.
Also, you say that you're like this person who's like super researched and like before you go look at like his early videos, he will talk about like how many hours and hours and hours he spent like researching to put this channel together before he put this channel together. And he'll talk about like, oh, you know, say some of the pitfalls to watch out for, blah, 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 blah. Since very early on, he has talked about like how, you know, he has some mental health issues, he's in therapy or whatever, but like this isn't supposedly bad for his mental health. Or it's like he early on like acknowledges that people say, oh, this can be bad for your mental health. And he'll be like, oh, but like I'm handling it really well compared to other people. So like you knew that it could be an issue. And like, guess what? Right now, I'm handling my own mental health really, really well. Does that mean that it's like every day I'm handling it really well? Does that mean 2 years from now I won't be handling it really, really well? Like, no, it doesn't mean that. And so, yeah, right now look at me. I'm filming live. I'm streaming live right to your living room and I'm going to upload it later on YouTube. But even let's look a year ago, I couldn't do that, you know, because I was not in a place mentally healthy where I could do that. I had to step back. Now, excuse me. Now, granted, I'm lucky that my income is not tied to my streaming, right? Not to my streaming, not to my YouTube, none of that, right? My income is completely separate. Jimmy had the option to continue his regular stream of income and just do YouTube as a side gig, but he decided to go all in. Remember his like fake it till you make it campaign where he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to take out a loan, or I don't know if he took out a loan or if he like got money from somewhere that he like, you know, somebody might have invested with him or whatever. But he basically took a chunk of change and decided that he was going to do it, right? He was going to like work on making it big, put his nose to the grindstone and make it. And he did. And he did. Like, good for him. But like then you have a responsibility to like not stick your foot in your mouth and not be a total ass. Or if you're going to do that, be aware of the fact that like then you might need to go back to your regular income stream, that sort of thing. But like yeah, like let's look at like Dr. Mike for instance. Dr. Mike went through the work of getting his channel to where he was getting I'm sure he probably made more on his YouTube channel than he did in his practice as a doctor. Um and then he went and was an idiot and went out and like got really close to people like during quarantine without a mask and got photographed with that. Like that was on him for doing that, right? Like and that is kind of one of the things about YouTube and other social media. It's like it infuses your entire life. And I can't imagine like doing anything that would be like that would piss people off that much, but like okay, say I did some stupid shit, like that would be on me for like my channel to be done or whatever, for people to cancel me. Like that's on you, Jimmy. It's on you.
And I feel like I have an empathy for that, even for somebody and others who have done crappy things and said,
like people are allowed to react. Now, again, not like death threats and stuff like that, but like people are allowed to react.
Crappy things. Also, I will tell you that negativity, it creates this urgency in you. Like you need to get things out, and in some cases that you have to fight back.
Is he wearing the glasses like to look sympathetic or or is it just to read the teleprompter? Because I know I wouldn't wear my glasses on stream if I could see without them, but like I'm freaking blind and my last pair of contacts tore during quarantine and I still like I've only got long story, it doesn't matter.
And again, because I've seen how this gets interpreted, I'm going to restate, I am not defending any individual action. I am only saying that I refuse to forget that a person is human. And I think about it more than you realize, even when it comes to people like Girl Defined. So
yeah, exactly. We should act like everyone.
Changed from the video I did was that while I knew the whole thing was going to be a book review, the actual thing that was bothering me were these Insta and Twitter posts that to me seemed very unkind. And actually, in comments Rachel has left in other places, Rachel called them childish. But I 100% understand that the way that first message came across seemed like it was trying to change the tone of a review. I do think that I explained and cleared it up in the messages that followed. However, I know that by the time that happened, Rachel was already mad. And now I know that there were these other things going on.
Also, like, the things that you have said about, like, transformed wife and, like, the stuff that she said, like, you have said just as bad shit about other creators. Just because you like Gabby and you didn't like Transformed Wife or Girl Defined or the other girl that you were making fun of. Like, that doesn't mean that Gabby doesn't get criticism just because you like her.
Going on in her life that likely made it harder for her to have that conversation.
And it was me. It was me.
With me in a productive way. And I totally understand. If those things were happening to me, I would have been the same. But they are things that were happening in her life that at that time I didn't know were happening. But here's also the thing. While I do think my intentions...
Oh my God. Did he just acknowledge that like the people have lives outside of like what they post online? Really? People have lives outside of what they post online? Are you sure? Are you sure? Nah, it can't be.
And my words have been totally spun and totally misrepresented by channels talking about it and by people who are pushing narratives. I also think that the message was wrong for a different reason.
What was the message that we got wrong?
I have since learned that a community and set of ethics for book reviewers exist. And that blew my freaking mind considering the fact that I have done several book reviews and was never aware. I didn't know that community exists and I was certainly never approached by a community like that.
Because you build yourself as an atheist channel. Like... Yes, an entire community for book reviewers exists. Did you like spend even 30 seconds looking? Oh my God. Are you serious? He wasn't aware that an entire community existed. Or did he say he wasn't aware that the ethics for that community existed? Let me run it back.
Who are pushing narratives. I also think that the message was wrong for a different reason. I have since learned that a community and set of ethics for book reviewers exist. And that blew my...
Okay, so both. So is he claiming ignorance that he's like, oh, I just didn't know? Because you didn't educate yourself. Like, that's why you didn't know. You didn't look.
My friggin' mind, considering the fact that I have done several book reviews and was never aware.
Nobody fucking reached out to you and told you about something that you should have easily been able to find for yourself? Oh my God, Jimmy.
I didn't know that community exists, and I was certainly never approached by a community like that.
Because it's their responsibility as a community to reach out to you, Jimmy. It's not your responsibility to like see if there is a code of ethics and or a community surrounding what you're trying to insert yourself into. I mean, this like if I like bought a gun and decided to go down to the gun range without like looking into like the rules for the gun range, like that's fucking stupid.
So when I approached Rachel about her Insta and her Twitter promos and talking more broadly,
okay, it's not exactly like that. I don't want to be like, oh, these two things are exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. I don't like quote me and be like, see, she's comparing this to guns. Like, no, it was just the first thing that popped out of my ass. Sorry.
Approached by a community like that. So when I approached Rachel about her Insta and her Twitter promos and talking more broadly about the review, the content of the review itself didn't actually matter to me. I
didn't care about a review.
Wanted to say something that might have reduced this new wave of negativity Gabby was getting before the review was out. But
why?
The thing is, I shouldn't have. That's unethical.
But why? Like whether or not you should have, like why? Why did you decide to insert yourself in it? Why?
Especially in referencing like book reviews and how you could change that. I didn't know that. I genuinely didn't, but I do completely accept that it was unethical, and
You didn't know that because you didn't bother to find out.
Would go back and change it if I could on the basis that I now know it's wrong. In fact, it's funny because it's not even just that I didn't know that that existed.
Also, Rachel pointed that out to you, and her first message back to you when you were like, hey, this might hurt Gabby's feelings if you say mean things. She was like, I'm a book reviewer, and it's unethical to ask a book reviewer to change their review. So step off with it.
I didn't know that I didn't know. Does that make sense?
I didn't know I was ignorant. Let me see if I can find those messages really quick because I did take like screenshots of all of that shit when he did that video. Let's go back a little ways. Okay. So this is what she says back to him after he's like, oh, she told me that another one's coming out. It's obvious to me that she's messed up in anticipation. Rachel says back, she sent me the book knowing I'd review it. I wasn't going to do a fake review. That's absolute crap. I'm not going to be guilted into changing my opinion. Can you imagine if other authors sent a reviewer a book and said, but you should only publish the review if it's positive. If she doesn't want people critiquing her poetry, she should stop selling overpriced, awful poetry. She knows I review poetry, all poetry, not just hers. She still sent me the book. She knew it was coming for months. At this point, if he didn't know that there was a code of ethics, she basically just friggin' told him. Like, again, I've got the reviews here if you want to see the receipts. Let me know and I'll just do like a receipts video where I like show this video, which apparently he's gonna delete. So maybe I should like maybe I should screen grab the whole video. I don't know. I hate doing that, like in anticipation of people just like deleting their videos, but we'll see. Let me know what you think. I'm sure somebody else will do it. If you're a person who like screen grabs that shit, get a screen grab of that shit. Because you're better at it than me. I suck at like the whole editing, everything realm. Hence, I do live streams. Yay! Okay, back to you, Jimmy.
There are plenty of people who've said that like I should have researched review ethics, and I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel that you wish I had done that, and I agree like with your feelings that you wish I should have done that. But I didn't even know such a thing existed.
So Google it. Like I feel like he's getting upset here, where he's like, I didn't know that a thing existed that like would have only taken me 5 minutes to find out if it existed. And like him being like, oh, well, I didn't know if I didn't know. Like, I'm sorry, but like when I decided to like actually do like a picture in picture review where I have like your face here and like do commentary on your channel, I like actually looked up like what like the ethics were for that, and like if it was okay for me to like use your whole video like this, or and turns out like it is if we're doing like a live stream, like this type of situation. But if I'm gonna edit down the video, I need to like be editing out parts of his videos and not just like letting it play for long streams, which is completely understandable. And like, how long did it take me? Like 15 minutes to do that? And it took me like 30 seconds to find out like that there was a code of ethics. So like,
so, contrary to some narratives, I was not trying to manipulate anyone, and the conversation
yes,
I was not trying to manipulate anyone in the way, yes, I was trying to increase kindness, and you could actually say that is manipulative.
Yes, you were trying to manipulate someone.
But not in the way people have presented it. And
in a way that was unethical.
The conversation I was thinking we would have was not the conversation Rachel and I ended up having.
Oh, is that what he's saying that like we lied about? Was that he was trying to manipulate his audience in a way that was unethical? Because he basically just admitted to it.
But I too
so that's like quote unquote lie number one.
I totally acknowledge that it was flawed, that I made a mistake, and I should not have sent that first message. I do think that
53 minutes into this, and the first quote unquote lie that we as drama channels told about you isn't a lie. You just confirmed that we were correct. Okay. Next.
There are many of the people who were angry here that, like many of the people that were so angry, I think if they removed Gabby from the equation.
Right? The first one was that he was friends with a rape apologist, which is what we were saying, not that he was a rape apologist. And he confirmed that indeed he was friends with a rape apologist.
You would actually see easily that I was not trying to do anything malicious or shitty. Now, as far as picking Gabby over Rachel, that's simply just not true. My friendship with Rachel ended because I felt like she violated my trust, not once, but 3 times. Now, a lot of people like to say that the first time was my fault because I technically am who outed myself as being a part of this conversation she had put on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she didn't violate your trust. She didn't say your name. You were the one who were like, it's me. She's talking about me. That would be like me saying, Jimmy, you're violating my trust by talking about what I sent to you in private Patreon messages. Like, if you were just like, oh, this Patreon sent me this shit, and I was like, it's me. It's me. I'm the one who said that. I outed myself, buddy.
I disagree with that. Rachel shared details of a conversation that was totally reasonable to expect to be between us with the public. It's like if you and I are friends and we have
She didn't say that it was with you. It's like the equivalent of like sharing screenshots and blocking out the name. Like, I'll do that.
Friend called John and I speak to you about John, it is totally reasonable to expect you to keep that conversation between you and I unless we discuss it otherwise.
No, it's like when I talk about stuff here and I'm like, oh yeah, this person that I know, blah, 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 blah. I don't say their name or like necessarily the relationship I have with them unless it's pertinent. But like when I talk about my ex, okay, I don't need his consent to talk about him because y'all don't know who he is. Now, if somebody like started messaging and was like, hey, I know that it's such and such and blah, 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 like then I would maybe need to like talk to him and be like, hey, like, do I address this or not? Do I ignore it? Whatever. And like take it from there. And if he's not okay with it, then like, whatever. I just like don't talk about him ever at all anymore. And, you know, like take it from there. But like, you guys don't know who he is. I don't need his consent to talk about him if you don't know who it is that I'm talking about, right? There's like all those story time videos on YouTube. Like you don't need to like go back and like get consent from every person that was in those story time like stories because that's why you give them aliases. She said a friend of mine. She did not say my friend Jimmy Snell. You're the one who was like, hey, it's me. I'm the one who said that to her. The thing that she said that she was offended about.
So in this case, Rachel talked about John, Gabby, but John from the metaphor. And that already to me was the first time she broke my trust. The only reason I outed myself as part of that conversation was that she also was sharing inaccurate details of the conversation itself. And those were being used to push a new wave of problems at Gabby. And again,
no, she was saying things that she could have easily inferred from that conversation, which like we all inferred as well when you showed the receipts.
Regardless of if you think she deserves negativity, I don't want to be I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be the one who sent it. So yes, I did publicly correct on Twitter what was said and admit that this conversation she was posting about, that I was the other person. Then that evening, I think it's honestly so long ago that it's kind of like hard to remember, but Rachel took what should have been another conversation between us and started up again publicly on Twitter. This time she was inebriated, and I tried to minimize what would happen. And while I felt like this was my trust broken again, I still wasn't ready to drop our entire friendship there.
So then you're the one again manipulating her trust and like by saying, "Oh yeah, she was inebriated." Blah blah blah. Blah. Like, did she say she was inebriated? I mean, maybe she did. I'm not on Twitter.
Did what I could to try and keep things cordial. And when she asked, "What do you want from me?" I simply said, "I just want to talk, the two of us, privately." But then the next morning, instead of talking to me, she went back to Twitter, and that was my last one. It felt like 3 times my trust had been broken in a way that's like hard for me to navigate because, yes, I'm gonna say it, I'm autistic. And when you're autistic, it's already hard enough to try and explain yourself to one person, let alone explain yourself to one person with 1,000 referees around you.
So
This
don't.
product?
Like, friggin' so don't. Here, we're gonna close this out while we do the. But like, seriously, like, so don't. What is his problem? Like, you don't have to do everything publicly. Like, that's ridiculous. No, I'm angry. Okay, I'm gonna run it back and see what he's saying.
Now listen, I've definitely, I'm autistic. And when you're autistic,
That's right. That's right. I forgot he flashed his autistic card.
it's already hard enough to try and explain yourself to one person, let alone explain yourself to one person with 1,000 referees around you. Now listen, I've
So don't. You're the one who said, "Hey, it's me."
definitely learned since then that what Rachel was going through was intense and serious, and I now know that a lot more was going on. Had I known that at the time, I probably would have also dismissed the 3rd incident. I will say that, Rachel, I seriously hope you have all.
So, have you dismissed the 3rd incident or not? Because, she betrayed me 3 times.
All the support and everything you need. I would have absolutely not turned you away if you had needed help.
But now you will?
And had asked for it during that time, even after I was mad at you. If you need it in the future, of course, whatever I could do.
Okay.
But for me, my trust.
Because it really doesn't sound like it. And I really don't think she's going to take you up on it. But like, seriously, Rachel, if you need anything, like, like there are people in the community who are totally there for you. Like me, Rudy, just other people in the atheist community and stuff. Like, we're totally here for you.
Was broken. And at the time, that was why I decided I couldn't stay in that situation.
And y'all can always email me too. I may not have like the time or resources to get back to it right away, but Ophelia Hartwig at Gmail. Seriously, yeah. Y'all can always email me if you just like need a shoulder to cry on or whatever. Like, it's all right.
As far as picking between them, I have never felt like I've had to pick between the two, and neither of them have either asked me to. I also would have been completely fine if during that first message, Rachel just told me to fuck off. I probably would have wanted to take a couple of days to reset, but being told to fuck off, and I want it to be true that telling others to fuck off shouldn't be the end of a friendship. Now, in regards to my friendship with Gabby Hanna, I'm not going to go into incredible detail. I'm not
usually telling somebody to fuck off is the end of a friendship, just saying.
I'm not going to be sharing like content of conversations because, like I just said, I think that would violate our trust. But Gabby and I are friends because she reached out after seeing some of my content, and we ended up having very interesting conversations about those things. It's worth noting, though, that
oh, it's a bigger creator than you. Came in, you fangirled over her a little bit. Okay.
It probably wouldn't have changed much, but when
you know what? Like, I get it. Like, it's like, so if you follow my channel and you don't follow the Lavender Lady, I don't know, like, why, but definitely go follow her, the Lavender Lady. But it's like when she told me that, like, she had seen my channel, and I was like,
what? What? I love you, Lavender Lady.
Her name's Diana. She's great. She's wonderful. Go subscribe to her channel. She's amazing. On YouTube.
we were having those conversations, I was mostly unaware of Gabby's history. When we met,
But also Diana can do no wrong in my eyes.
I honestly thought her biggest crimes were like these edgy TikToks. Either way, I tend to want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
I'm just imagining like Diana like actually doing something like problematic now. I'm sorry, I got completely distracted for the video and I can't imagine it. But like, yeah, if Diana like all of a sudden like started being, you know, racist or something like that, like, sorry girl, like that shit don't fly here. Okay, back to Jenny.
About those things. It's worth noting though that it probably wouldn't have changed much, but when we were having those conversations, I was mostly unaware of Gabby's history. When we met, I honestly thought her biggest crimes were like these edgy
But you don't think that it would have changed much? She's a rape apologist, dude.
TikToks. Either way, I tend to want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And she showed a lot of interest in my story and also questions.
He was first talking to her when she was like doing her TikToks where she was like losing her shit about having ADHD and like trying to use it as an excuse for everything. And at the same time, he was using his autism as an excuse for everything. So he clicked with that. Okay. I get it now. He didn't realize that there was all of this shit in her past.
I was mostly unaware of Gabby's history. When we met, I honestly thought her biggest crimes were like these edgy TikToks. Either way, I tend to want to give people the benefit of the doubt. That was the same thing you were doing. And she showed a lot of interest in my story and also was excited to share stories of her own with someone that she felt could understand.
Not on TikTok.
Now, that said, we've also had very big disagreements and have gotten in very heated fights. Usually also about things that are related to supernatural stuff, I guess you could say, but other things too. But
you guys got into heated arguments over supernatural shit? Dude, I'm a fucking atheist tarot reader. Like, I never get into fights with people over supernatural shit. I'm like the person who should be. My own views disagree with themselves. This is not actually true. There's nuanced, but like, you know, with everything that's nuanced on the surface, it might look contradictory.
As far as our friendship goes, we are friendly and we are kind to each other, but we don't talk very often at all. And I feel like that's been lost too in calling her my friend. Like this year, we've only spoken a couple of times for the entire year. And then a handful of times before make up our entire friendship before that. But I just personally do not believe in guilt by association or isolating people that we don't agree with. If anything, I actually believe that those are horrible practices, that those make the world more polarized and more violent.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I absolutely have no problem telling Gabby things that I don't like or agree with. But again, we don't talk that often, so we're not covering that much stuff. I don't also think so much of myself or so little of her humanity that I think she doesn't deserve me as just a kind and positive person in her life. Now, I will tell you, I can't speak for the future. I'm going to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But I would say as of late, there have been details that I have learned more recently.
So let me be clear. Rachel, my DMs are open to you. Jemmy, my DMs are open to you for polite discourse if you would like to discuss things. My DMs are also open to you, not necessarily for support, but if you would like to discuss things in email, absolutely. I'm no longer a Patreon of yours, so we can't there, but Opheliahartwig@gmail is my public email. You can email me there, and I will try and answer you. Again, it's hard to filter through all of them all the time. But Gabby Hannah, if you email me, I will read it online, on air, and discuss it with my audience. I will more than likely not get back to you because I don't feel like you deserve the respect of a reply.
A lot coming from some of you that have made me much more apprehensive, and I'm probably now a little more on guard than I was before.
Good.
However,
should have been.
Again, I'm hoping for the best. I want to say too, I do totally understand that many people have very strong feelings about Gabby. I know that there are people who still feel upset with some of her actions and certainly feel upset about her extremely toxic public relationship with Jesse Smiles. And I want to say to you who feel that way, I assure you, I am not asking you to like her or to be her friend too. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to tell you that your feelings are wrong, but I would like it if you'd maybe extend the same to me.
There are some people whose line in the sand is that they won't follow somebody who is friends with a rape apologist. And that's perfectly legitimate, Jimmy. Like, you don't need to guilt trip them to continue to watch your videos once you have crossed that line in the sand. They don't need to move their line in the sand. If you want them back as an audience, you need to move where you are in relation to that line. Okay? Do not ask your audience to move their line. That is fucking bullshit. And that is like the thing that you have supposedly been fighting against from the start, is that we all have like the right to religious freedom and to believe what we want to believe and to have our own sets of morals and values. And you have upset some of our morals and values. You have crossed the line to where our morals and our values tell us that we can no longer continue to support you. Do not fucking guilt trip us for that decision when that is something that you have advocated for the past how many years. Okay? If you want to get us back as supporters, you need to change your actions. We don't need to change our morals and values for you.
And so that brings me to this. There's been a narrative running off all of this that I have been silencing sexual assault survivors. And the implication when someone says that... I'm
sorry. I'm I'm gonna need a minute before like this is also a heavy topic that he's talking about, and I need a minute before we get into that because that made me really upset. Okay, sorry. I just needed a minute there. Ooh. Oh, I realized that I have not had the window capture on for a minute. I hope you've been able to hear him, even though I haven't had the window capture on. I got a little upset there. I got a little heated. Apologies. Somehow, miraculously, wifey slept through all of that. So, good on her, I guess.
Say like tags you in a post with other women that you work with while completely making bad faith
I
arguments
should run it back.
is that you're transitive, but I would like it if you'd maybe extend the same to me.
Which is where I like went off, right? Because that's what I think is bullshit. You don't have to view anybody's content that you don't want to view. And whenever you're watching somebody, it is supporting them. Just be aware of that. Whether their stuff is monetized or not, like the algorithm pays attention to views and stuff. So like when you watch my stuff all the way to the end, that's showing the algorithm that you support me. If you don't like my shit, click off, hit the dislike. But yeah, anytime you're asking us to watch your stuff, you're asking us to support you, Jimmy.
And so that brings me to this. There's been a narrative running off all of this that I have been silencing sexual assault survivors. And the implication when someone says that and say like tags you in a post with other women that you work with while completely making bad faith arguments is that you're trying to shut up women who have been assaulted because they have been assaulted, because they were sex assault victims.
No, we didn't think that you were trying to silence them because they had been sexually assaulted, but you were trying to silence them as women who were coming out and saying that, like, what you were saying was hurtful to them as sexual assault victims.
This is simply not true. And it is a narrative that could be driven with any group, honestly. You could do this with anyone. Anyone who tried to push the conversation.
Are we 3 for 3 now? Shit that he says that we said that we didn't say?
When I wasn't ready, or post things about me that weren't true, yeah, I blocked them, regardless of who they were. So a person could cherry pick from those people I blocked. So they say they picked out just black women or just trans men or whatever group you like and say that I'm silencing those people too because they were being blocked. The thing is that everyone was being blocked. Nope. That's kind of it. That's kind of the devil.
You were saying that their experience and feeling re-victimized by your content was invalid. That's what we were saying, right? So, let me see really quick if I can like look up like the definition of like re-victimization. Why is this all in Spanish? Uh, okay. I mean, I guess Urban Dictionary isn't necessary, but okay. The concept of re-victimization. Um. Okay, but like, let's. What is it? What is it? Like, I mean, I have an idea, but this is just talking about. Damn it! Let's define it. Definition. Okay, that was like not the best. That was not like. It didn't tell us anything. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna I'm gonna explain it to you like the best that I understand it. Okay, and that's all I got. But here's what I got. Okay, victimization, as far as I understand it, refers to like if somebody was victimized, they were sexually assaulted or whatever, and then whenever people are bringing it up and sort of like downplaying it and that sort of thing, that they feel all of those emotional ties and everything and that trauma over again. So it's basically linked to like PTSD is my understanding of it, is that it's like really making them relive that trauma again. So these women are saying like, hey, the shit that you are like tweeting and stuff is really, not only is it making me feel triggered as a rape survivor, but it is like relaunching that trauma for us, for most of us as sexual assault survivors, and like you should be aware of it, okay? Not like, oh my god, you did this on purpose or whatever, but like you should be aware of it. And then his response of like blocking them and saying fuck you or whatever, that was the problem. Not like if he would have just said like, oh, okay, I didn't understand, take it down, whatever. Um, or said that isn't what I meant by it, or whatever, addressed it that way. But it's the fact that like his response was like, fuck you, your opinion as a sexual assault survivor doesn't matter. It's not important. And like you're basically just doing this again now. If like somebody said, hey, you know what, my experience as a trans woman has left me feeling like victimized by like your response to this, because like it was hurtful in a way that like you may not have realized is specifically hurtful to trans women. That if I was a trans woman, I'm just saying. Um, and then he was like, "Fuck you, your opinion doesn't matter." Like, yeah, that would have been silencing a trans person, because you're saying that their opinion as a trans person doesn't matter. You're saying that these women as sexual assault survivors doesn't matter.
Of it all. But I do understand that if you have concerns about my associations, that could be coming from a place that is genuine, that is from your experience, and that it might hurt extra if you are then blocked. So I'm not saying I'm taking nothing from that criticism, just not the criticism as it exists on the surface. Because I do absolutely take exception that I was targeting these people for silence. And honestly, I can't.
So like the way that you address the criticism is what most of us have a problem with. Like, yes, those women criticized you in that way, but the way that you address the criticism is like what stepped it up a level and made it fucking worse.
Really silence anybody. I can stop you from.
If people would have criticized you and you would have been like, oh, yep, you're right. Let me take a step back. Let me evaluate this and like address it in like a super like good manner. And like none of us would have been friggin' making videos about it, Jimmy. You would have had your whole little corner of the internet all to yourself and people wouldn't have been saying shit. But no, you're right. Now channels are friggin' growing with thousands of views because, yeah, you put your fucking foot in your mouth and we had something to say about it.
From using my platform, I can stop you from trying to force conversations and narratives on my platform, but I've never tried or advocated shutting down the platforms of others, even those platforms that have people lying about me, like completely whole cloth lies. And I will tell you.
What lies, Jimmy? What lies? Because so far we're 3 for 3 things that you have said that we have lied about that you have then proved that we didn't lie about them.
I'm a victim of sexual assault myself. I've mentioned it on my channel. I don't like to go a lot into detail about
it. Okay. I want everybody who's watching this right now to just think of 4 friends that you have that were assigned female at birth, just like off the top of your head. Think of 4 either women or people who are assigned at birth. It can be trans men, non-binary, whatever. There is a very, 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 very good chance that at least one of them will be or has been sexually assaulted before their 21st birthday. Think about that for just 1 second. Like I said, just 4 friends at random that were assigned female at birth. The chances of at least one of them being sexually assaulted before their 21st birthday is astronomically in the favor of that being true. That sucks.
About it. But anybody who's seen my channel knows that I take sexual assault super seriously. And I really think that this gets to the point.
And that's not the same for men. And I think, yes, we do need to be aware of the fact that like men are sexually assaulted, but like saying like, oh, you know, it's a non-gender, non-binary thing. No, it's mostly women who are victims of sexual assault. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Jimmy. I'm very sorry that happened to you. It does not lessen the experiences of all of those women. It doesn't.
Point that hurts the most. Seeing people reduce all of the work I've done, all the work I've done on myself, all the work I've tried to do for others, and trying to make the case that none of that matters, and that I shouldn't be able to keep my platform, which I think has been used almost entirely.
Nobody's advocating for you losing your platform, Jimmy. We're saying take a step back, but like it should be your choice. Nobody's saying like you should be deplatformed. We're saying like maybe you need to take a step back.
Mostly to try and make the world a better place. Even the Sometimes Show is built to raise social awareness and promote causes that I care about.
I agree. He has shifted from religious content to more secular political content, but his message has remained consistent pretty much throughout.
If obviously sometimes the Sometimes Show does it through humor, sometimes crude humor, sometimes gross humor. I've seen those comments too.
I agree. Sometimes the gross humor, I have like a very dark sense of humor, so that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me, but the grossness does.
Now it feels like.
However, I did grow up in the 90s, so like that's not like I've seen it before.
My platform is trying to be pried away from me because of some things people have put in a negative column while completely ignoring a positive column. And if I'm being honest, it has.
Sometimes the negative column outweighs the positive columns. And there are things sometimes that can be put in the negative column that no amount of things in the positive column will outweigh them. And that sucks, but it's true. Sometimes you don't even need to look at the positive columns because of all of the weight in the negative columns. You know that there's literally nothing that you can put in there to outweigh it.
Hurt a lot. It has.
Unless you're Jesus Christ returned or whatever that you were saying earlier.
Been destroying me. So regarding the Gabby and Rachel situation and my fan interactions, I guess I would just say like there was, and hopefully now you know it, there is nuance to these things. But other than that, that's what I have to say there.
Can we all quote Jesse Gender? Nuance is a thing. I agree with you on that, Jimmy, and I think Jesse does too.
I do know that people have taken this time, especially while there is so much coming at me, to voice some other issues and some other grievances. So I think it's actually better to lay everything on the table, even though I don't know how much of a voice I have left. But I want to address a couple of those as well. A number of you were upset when I switched my content almost entirely from Dear Mr. Atheist to the Sometimes Show. And you know what?
We weren't upset. Like he's like playing this off as like a thing where we were like personally hurt. Like, oh, Jimmy, how could you do this to us? As far as I know, there weren't people who were saying that. We were just like, okay. As far as like that style of humor and content goes, there are other creators that already put out that style of content with that, like that we already watch. And so there wasn't for us a void to be filled there, right? And maybe there would be an audience that you would grow from that. Excuse me. But you did like a very big change in your content. And it takes a while for the audience to catch up with that. There is going to be audience members who aren't into the new shit who are going to leave. Some of them are going to like hang on and see if it gets better, see if it gets to be something that they're interested in. But a lot of them are just going to friggin' leave. And it's going to take a while to draw new people in because the algorithm thinks that you're drawing people who are interested in the old content, right? So it takes a while for the algorithm also to catch up. Um, that's not our fault. That's a you problem, Jimmy, not an us problem.
I get it. I was not open enough because I didn't even really know what I was doing or what my plan was. I need you to understand that I was so burnt out on Dear Mr. Atheist. And at the time, it felt like I needed to get rid of it as much as I could. But that wasn't fair.
I understand that. He was shifting his content. And that's really what he's saying is like, he was burnt out on it and he was either going to quit or he was going to try something new. And he decided to try something new. Cool. Good on you. Like, I quit for, for a while. It's fine. It's fine. Um, you could have like put out Dear Mr. Atheist content like once a month, right? Like it just kept your channel up. It just like literally put out a video once a month, focus on other stuff, right? You could have started a completely new channel. That's the Sometimes Show channel where you start out with completely fresh analytics and start from there. Um, that's not on us, Jemmy. Like that's like we just didn't like your new show. We just didn't like it. We didn't for me, there wasn't like a void to be filled there. I was already watching Trevor Noah. So like I didn't need Jemmy Snow to like be another Trevor Noah because Trevor Noah was already polished and hilarious as fuck.
And it happened too fast. Plus, you came to this channel looking for something and I guess I kind of just took it away. I wish I had thought more about that impact soon.
I can see that. I didn't even really think about that. But yeah, I had like gone to him to like let's face it, laugh at Girl Defined and Paul and Morgan. And when we didn't get that anymore, it was like I just had to go to like Paul and Morgan to laugh at Paul and Morgan and go to Girl Defined to laugh at Girl Defined. And I never like gave either of them like, a sub or like join their Patreon or anything like I did with him. But like, yeah. Hold on, I'm getting a message from Oh, I want it. Okay. I'll have to deal with that later. Sorry. Sorry. But yeah, like that was what I went to him for. And to be fair, like when he stopped putting out that content, that's like I said, when I started watching Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined like directly, on like double speed, of course, because I can't watch that shit at like normal fucking speed. But I also started watching like other commentary channels where like they talked about like Amberlyn Reed or like other stuff too, so what ifs.
Sooner.
The Thousand Pound Sisters. I know like that's not even like at all related, but like I also got like into like true crime content. Again, not at all related, but it was like when the Girl Defined Paula Morgan like reaction videos and stuff weren't there anymore. Yeah, I went and found other content. I don't know. Let me know if you guys like missed those too, and I guess I could do some like reviews of their video or reactions to their videos because I just find them hilarious. But I would have to do it in like a parody style where I like pretended to do. We'll see. We'll see.
But it wasn't actually complaints that made me realize the mistake that I had made. It was actually people that were
just because they say like make content that you like, and if there is a void for it, I'm happy to fill that void. I enjoy doing that kind of shit. So.
Emailing me about the impact Dear Mr. Atheist had on them. And I realized that I had cut off the potential for new impact, for future impact.
I get that he was like, it was an outreach program for him. And people were like, where's your outreach program? But you know what? You're not like obligated to keep doing it. You're not. I totally understand you changing content. I totally get it. Like if you were burnt out doing it, quit doing it. I will never advocate for like guilt tripping creators into continuing doing their old content when they're not feeling it anymore. When Bailey Sarian like wanted to do her what's her new series, Dark History, where she's like not doing her freaking makeup on camera anymore. Good for her. Like she seems like she really enjoys her new podcast, and like maybe it makes her enjoy her older her was it Murder Mystery and Makeup Mondays video? Yeah, I hear the theme song. Shada sha sha shada sha. All right, back to Jimmy.
I did need the break though, but it should be no surprise that I actually like really missed doing it after a while. But I do also have to say that I really love doing this.
So like do it once a month. Like I was saying, do like one episode once a month. Don't do it like every week or 3 times a week or however. You were doing a shit ton. Sorry. You were doing a shit ton of videos, Jimmy, you know it. And I understand how you got burnt out. Space it out more. Space it out more.
But it should be no surprise that I actually like really missed doing it after a while. But I do also have to say that I really love doing the Sometimes Show. I know not all of you are sold on it.
And I have no problem with that. And I have no problem with like more than one show on the same channel. Like that's cool too. There are people who like they say like divide your content and make a separate channel. That's fine too. But I feel like that's a personal choice. And like I don't think that people should fault him for having the Sometimes Show on a channel that they otherwise like if they don't like the Sometimes Show. That's allowed, Jimmy. That's allowed. And if you have a problem with it, put it on a separate channel.
Maybe not even most of you are sold on it, but like one of my favorite comments I get on there is that it's from people who say they hated it at first, but now they think it's awesome. The show is growing, and
because it was terrible at first, and it's getting better.
I really do like it. But you also deserve the content that you came for. So while we're still going to keep up the Sometimes Show Monday through Thursday, we are right now trying to make sure that you get at least one segment during those Monday through Thursday shows of Dear Mr. Atheist, and then a dedicated of Dear Mr. Atheist on the weekend, at least one, sometimes more, especially when like...
Why? You're going to burn yourself out again. Why? You're setting yourself up for burnout again.
Things aren't going so good, and we need to push some traffic to the channel. The next thing I'm going to address is a twofer, because they go together, and I think I just kind of did one of them a little. People feel like that I tried to manipulate people into watching the Sometimes Show, and that there are a number of you also who wish that I would shut up about numbers. Believe it or not, these are often the same thing. And I know people don't want to hear it, but yes, this is also from the autism. Not saying to...
There are plenty of people who are into numbers who are not autistic, okay? Just because a lot of us who are autistic are into friggin' numbers, and I get you, Jimmy. I am right there with you. My like very best friends in the world have been like, yeah, because you're a stats nerd. Like, this is because I am, okay? Yes, there are things that like we are told as creators, like, hey, if you mention these things in stream, you're more likely to get people to subscribe. Like, so again, like for instance, right now, if you're watching on Twitch, like hit that button to follow me down below, so that you're notified every time that I upload on the channel, and that way you know when I'm live and you can come and interact with me like while I am here streaming. That's a thing that if I mention it on stream, I might be more likely to get people following. If I mention on my YouTube channel, hey, that subscribe button is down below, and if you subscribe, you'll get notified immediately whenever everything gets uploaded. And when I do a premiere, I'm usually in the chat and chatting away with you guys there. I do try to respond to comments, etc., etc. Yeah, those things are more likely to like get people to hit those buttons, etc., etc. But you have said yourself that like you are very good at the manipulative language, and you are, right? You don't mince words. That's not true. You are like, you're very passive aggressive. And this is a thing that I have had to realize as an autistic person myself. I, for a long time, have not understood passive aggression from other people. It's just confusing to me. But I have learned to mimic it enough in text to where I can sometimes be passive aggressive without realizing it, right? Because I'm just mimicking other people's like patterns of writing. I'm not good at it like verbally. Like I'm not, it's still is not a thing that I can mimic very well. But in text, when I don't have to like worry about intonation and all that sort of thing, I actually can sometimes be quite passive aggressive without realizing it. And it's just because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. So, whether or not he intended these things to be passive aggressive, Jimmy, whether or not you meant it to be manipulative, it was manipulative to your audience. Okay? Just recognize it. And the fact that you deleted it tells me that you do indeed recognize it.
Excuse it, but I am explaining myself. Now, I will say, I know that all creators think about their numbers and try to do things to make them go up, but they don't talk publicly as much about it because it does rub audiences the wrong way. So they try to make it look innocent and good or content,
Exactly. You try to like work it in a conversation like I just did there where I was like explaining what it is that he does, but like still guys hit that freaking button. Like please. It does help me out.
This is a cool reason.
It will legit make me feel happy, and that is the main reason why I want you to hit that button is because it makes me feel happy.
But I've learned more about that, about how it rubs audiences the wrong way and how it makes people feel like they're just a number and that my motives are purely analytics. I'm going to be real with you. On a personal level, I am obsessed with numbers. I really, really am. I love numbers. I love trying to predict what they are going to do. I love trying to figure out how to change them. I love numbers, but I should not have made that your problem.
I also love numbers. I don't like to change them. I love watching them. It's like I always imagine, like, you know how there are people who have like the little ant farms and then it's like all in the glass and you can see like the little ants. Like that's how I like to watch numbers, as if they're like completely unaware of being observed.
And I can tell you that my actual values aren't influenced by the numbers. I promise you, being a vocal queer activist, a trans allied feminist is not the way you do the best numbers on YouTube. And truthfully, when I started,
Except it is, Jimmy. Except it is. Are people like covering your videos for views, or are you a nobody? Which one is it? Because you can't have it both ways, buddy.
I did not think things would be as big as they became. I thought I had the potential to do okay, but this thing took off at a speed that I couldn't even conceive would happen. Now, I regret.
So maybe you needed to like pump the party brakes a little bit.
How detached that I became lately from how wonderful like this community is, because it is. We have built a great community. And I could make excuses, even ones that might be valid about health and stuff. But the fact is, even with those intact, it doesn't really answer for how cold I've definitely come off lately. Now, as far as guilting people goes, I really didn't mean to. I certainly tried to promote the Sometime Show, but I do realize that by broadcasting,
whether or not you meant to, you did.
Passing the feelings I was having of like disappointment, that I know that either came off as manipulative or maybe it is manipulative. I didn't mean it to be, but maybe that's what it is. I think I was once again just being far more open than I apparently should be with an audience. And I'm going to try and work on that, as well as other times that I seem to be randomly open about other stuff, like random sexual thoughts that just come out when we're talking about something totally unrelated.
Please don't.
Endangered turtles.
Please don't say those things.
That one would make sense. Again, I needed a joke for me. I'm just not doing good, man.
Okay, like that was not a place where we needed a joke, but okay, moving on. That was just slightly tasteless. And you know what? I'm going to like write that one off as autism. I really am. Because that was just awkward.
Anyway, there are people who are specifically...
But it wasn't sexually explicit, so like, it's excusable.
Angry about this one post I made that I deleted shortly after I made it, as it seemed more like people were misreading my intentions than were actually getting what I was trying to say. The post said something like, I should have saved a copy, but to be clear, the choice wasn't to do the Sometime Show or Dear Mr. Atheist. The choice was to do the Sometime Show or quit.
See?
Now, what people may not know is I was actually responding to some negative comments I just received that said something like, quit this and go back to Dear Mr. Atheist, this sucks, that kind of thing. There were a lot of expletives in some of them. And so I understand that by starting this community post with, to be clear, yeah, it did seem like I was trying to be confrontational to basically anybody who was reading and might not like the show. But also, people had interpreted that post to mean that I was saying, basically that in the future, I will quit if you don't watch. But that wasn't the case. I was actually...
But your post just before that was like, hey, if I don't get like 50,000 views by like whatever date, that like I would consider this a failure.
Actually describing the past, not the future. Basically, some of the things that I was toiling with, I guess it would have been around that previous autumn to winter time where I was going, I can't do this. I can't do this. If I keep doing this, I can't. I'm burnt out. I got to do something new or I got to quit. But it wasn't about the future and it wasn't trying to tell you that I'm going to quit if you don't watch. But I did take that post down because of...
But that was the message that came across. Whether or not you meant to tell us, Jimmy, you did.
all the negativity that it created. And I tried to replace it with a super positive post, which, yeah, I know, that looks very passive aggressive. It actually wasn't my motivation at the time.
It was. It was like a, yay, I thought that sometimes show kind of sucked at first, but now I love it. It was one of those posts.
But even in thinking
sorry.
back, I'm like,
this is still.
Oh, no. Okay. We're back to where the ads are. Okay. Oh, that's probably where I removed
iCarly.
where I removed where you could see it earlier. Sorry. All right. I think I can bring it back. Boop, boop. And bring back sound. Boop, boop. Okay.
I'm not an expert on how most humans do passive aggressive. It actually wasn't my motivation at the time, but even in thinking back, I'm like, I'm not an expert on how most humans do things, but I totally see why that looked super passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, sometimes you don't mean to, but you can still be passive aggressive.
Now, there are also conspiracies going around about burnt bridges of mine. This is another one of the things that I'm just going to quickly address. And people that were great friends that haven't been on my channel anymore, that this conspiracy exists, that secretly I've had fallouts with a lot of these people.
Are we talking about Brenda? Are we talking about Brenda from God is Grey?
It's a mostly untrue conspiracy. Yes, there are a couple of people who I've cut off, and there are even a couple of people whose bridges I am proud to have burnt. But most of
We're not talking about Kwaku, because he said before that he's still friends with Kwaku.
the creators that these conspiracies are being made about, they're actually still friends of mine. In reality, because of some complications and some mental health stuff and a set that wasn't ready for it, just a lot of things, I actually just stopped doing collabs. I did do some, I guess I still do some on the line, but I don't actually even control scheduling on the line anymore. So that's fun. Anyway, I'm not going to name specific names. I seriously don't want to drag anybody into this video as a whole. I feel like it might send people to them. But I got to tell you, making up stuff about my personal life, Jesus, that hurts. And it hurt a lot.
Who made stuff up about your personal life? Because as far as I knew, Brenda had said that it made her feel somewhat uncomfortable. But even if it didn't, it made the rest of us feel uncomfortable, with what you had said. Now, again, I don't watch God is Grey, so I don't know firsthand. But that was my understanding from what I had seen on Reddit. But I don't have a recollection of what those the sources were that were cited, so I can't say that that is a fact. I don't want to perpetuate something as a fact without knowing it to be true. However, if you would have said that shit about me, it would have made me feel really uncomfortable, even if we were buddies, and even if we were really close buddies. Some of you guys don't know, but my BFF is assigned male at birth, and if I was with child and he had made that joke, it would have made me feel uncomfortable if he hadn't addressed it with me first. Even my BFF.
It also hurts when you come up with ridiculous scenarios like asserting that I'm a narcissist who's manipulated my therapist into believing I'm changing. And the worst part is I don't know how to disprove that. Because if you just tell somebody, disprove you aren't a narcissist, I feel like I would come off as a narcissist if I now started listing ways I've helped people. It's this one thing where it's you make this assertion without evidence, but it's impossible to disprove. So what can a person do? All I can say is this, that I
don't know, I was gonna say you could pay Brenda for a cameo and have her tell us what the state of your relationship is. But then we wouldn't know if you have paid her to say it that specifically either. So not much you can do, Jimmy. You're right.
If you believe me, which obviously there are going to be people who don't.
There's stuff that here's the thing though, is to me anyway, is that there is stuff that Brenda could do to absolutely be yeah, no, Jimmy and I are still friends. She's not doing those things.
Oh, I am totally open and totally honest with my therapists. I know I keep saying plural. I have two. And I think that in the last couple of years, I have become significantly a better person. At the very least, less toxic.
Is that the reason why you have two therapists is because you become a significantly better person? Because that's the way that you worded that sentence. It sounded like. I also have two counselors. Actually, yeah. So I have a psychiatrist, a counselor, and then a couples counselor.
you believe me, which obviously there are going to be people who don't, I am totally open and totally honest with my therapists. I know I keep saying a plural, I have two. And I think that in the last couple of years, I have become significantly a better person. At the very least, less toxic, but I think maybe actually a good person. And the fact that I even have to say this like blows my mind. But also in full honesty, I feel like people are off-put by this, but I kind of feel like it makes me more of a man to admit it really fucking hurt my feelings. It really did. And that negativity is a lot of like what
It doesn't make you more or less of a man. Like, what is this obsession with being like manly? Like, oh, I'm being enough of a man. Like, who cares? Who cares if you're enough of a man? A man. You're a manly man. No one cares, Jimmy.
I've not been doing good with.
How about it just makes you more of a person? A good person.
But does not excuse the way I reacted to it. There's a bunch more going around about me, but I'm going to end with being told that I'm a hypocrite for crapping on drama channels, but then covering drama on my show. Making sure that this is still on, because I actually don't know. Here's hoping it's still recording over there. Basically covering that I'm a hypocrite because I've covered drama-like stuff. Here's originally what I wanted to say in response to that charge. When I brought up like the Trisha Paytas stuff, I did try to make a point about not like the drama, but how bad I feel for people like her when they are spiraling in full display of the public, and that by doing it publicly, it might make it impossible to get better. Like I, for one, personally try to keep my spirals as private as I can.
So like you're doing right now.
And just ask my partner what the last few weeks have been like. Don't actually try to ask her. Stay away, please. I think that right now where we are with all of this is we had decided to take a shot on like, let's be public about our relationship. We're gonna go back to being private. But here's
We told you you would regret it. We told you when you made the community post saying that, oh, this, I'm going to be coming out with my partner and you can ask them questions. And people were like, oh, you're queer baiting by saying they, them, and blah, 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 blah. There were several of us early in the comments. I'm telling you, I was one of the first 4 people freaking commenting. And one of the first 4 comments was somebody that I agreed with who said, Jimmy, you're going to regret this. As much toxicity as you have coming out of your community right now with all the ways that you fucked up with Rachel Oates and Gabby Hanna, you don't want to expose your partner to this. Multiple people were telling him that early on in the comments. I'm talking at least the first dozen comments because I know sometimes it's like you see like 4 show up and then it's like they see like 12 show up. You know what I mean? Because of timing and like the way the uploads work and stuff. But I'm telling you, even if you were like only going to read the first 20 posts or 20 comments, you saw and heard us saying that, okay? I mean, heard as in like metaphorically heard us. Because it wasn't just like one person and a one-off. It was like people like agreeing with them and then like multiple comments going on actually in that thread before. Like, I remember it was specifically the first comment that was like getting multiple replies on the comment. So it was like, oh, there's 8 comments on this thread. But when you clicked on it, there was only 3 comments and the rest of them were like the drop down in that one comment about like, hey, Jimmy, not a good idea. So we told you.
Here's what I'll say now.
And now you're like, oh, you guys were bad and you guys were mean to her. Like we freaking told you not to do it.
This idea that I was a hypocrite for the drama stuff. I kind of worry.
And also, like, to be fair, I don't want to like condone people who are like treating her like shit and reaching out. Like, obviously, she made it clear that she's not a public figure and she doesn't want to be a public figure. So, like, reaching out to her is like not okay. But like, we fucking warned you that this could happen. This like freaking like going on the dark net without a VPN.
Worry that you're right. I worry that for at least the last year or so of my content that I've actually been participating.
And again, I don't want it to, because it's people who are going after her, that is wrong. And the only person wrong in that situation is them. Okay, I'm not trying to say that it is Jimmy's fault that people are going after his girlfriend. But it is like kind of like leaving your bike unlocked at the library or whatever, like we were talking about yesterday. It's like, it sucks. And you made a mistake by doing it. What sucks more is that there were people who are warning you not to make that mistake.
And methods of criticism about this idea that I was a hypocrite for the drama stuff. I kind of worry that you're right. I worry that for at least the last year or so of my content that I've actually been participating in methods of criticism that go against what I believe. And so I'm working on that in therapy too. And I'm trying to be more mindful.
Good.
I don't think it is actually about who you cover, but I do think it is about.
So are we 4 for 4 now? Things that you said that, oh no, wait. So 3 out of the 4 things that you said we didn't say. And then the 4th thing that you said that we said, you agree with.
How you cover them or what you cover.
We've only got like 4 minutes left. So
I hope that makes sense because I feel like
5 minutes.
It feels jumbled in my mind as I'm saying it. But also to the people who thought I was being a hypocrite or showing a double standard when I wanted Rachel to be kinder to Gabby and her social media posts, you're also probably right. I hope it means something.
Okay, so out of 5, 2 of the things that you said that we said, you agree with. And the other 3 things that you said that we said, you proved that we didn't say them or that we were right about what we did say.
Something to say that I am soul searching, for lack of a better term, a lot. And I'm thinking about this a lot. And I want to make sure that in the future, there aren't double standards, that I don't look like a hypocrite. But I'm going to end with this. There are now people trying to expose me for my past, a past that I've been open about. So in case you don't watch my stuff, I'd like a chance for you to still hear it from me first. I used to be a nightmare of a person. I was basically every kind of bigot,
We know.
though I thought I presented it intellectually, but now
we've already heard you say this. What's the point?
I just sucked. I have tried to always be open about that. But now there are people trying to weaponize that past against me as though it is a new revelation.
Who? Because I haven't seen anybody saying these things, Jimmy. The things that you're like, oh, this hurt me the most that people said these stuff. Like, no, we didn't. We didn't. You misinterpreted what people are saying. People are saying that the way that you acted in the past, we are seeing those patterns continue in the present. That's what we're saying. We're not saying this irrelevant thing that you have grown from, that you have moved on from. No, we're saying that thing in the past that appears to be affecting this thing in the future or in the present. Okay?
Rest assured.
Sorry, when I'm like looking like this, I'm like looking at his face. Like,
I've never like murdered somebody. I've never physically abused somebody, and I've never violated sexual consent of anyone. But I have been abusive trash in other ways, some of which I have gone into great details about. I've also been abused myself, and one of the most hurtful things that I've been seeing is there are now people trying to actually link up with abusers from my past. This one really bothers me, to see if they can get those in to smear me. I have definitely made mistakes, and I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm fucking made a mistake.
If somebody has done that, that's messed up. That's absolutely messed up. Nobody should be doing that. I haven't heard about anybody doing that, and it seems like, luckily, and anybody's comments that I've been in, or in the subreddit, that the mods have been like getting rid of that shit very quickly because I haven't seen any of it. If you have, let me know. Don't pass along that information, but let me know if you have seen it and tell me if there's any weight to this. Because either the mods have been getting on it really quickly, or it's just somewhere that I haven't seen it at all. Maybe on Twitter. I don't go on Twitter.
Certainly not of the caliber of the kind of things we're talking about above. You can't see above my outline, above on my outline here. But it can make me seem like a lot worse of a person when there are now people just dedicated to compiling every mistake they think I've made, and then mistakes that others have just made up, to the point that like it was wearing down on me to where I was wondering if I'm the person they're saying and not the person I've experienced. I'd like to make sure that we rebuild a community here the way that we all liked it before. I want to rebuild that. But obviously this stuff makes it hard.
You can't go back. Like it's kind of like what we were talking about like a year ago with the pandemic, and people were like, when are we gonna like get back to the way things were before? We're not. We're gonna find a new normal. Okay? And you know what, Jimmy? I hope that you do find a new normal and you find something that's like not stressful for you, because this is obviously like, I can feel it through the screen that this is really freaking stressing you out. This stress is real. Okay. And I think that you need to like shift it back, like take a step back and like realize that either A, your employees care about you and your content enough to like be willing to like take a little cut in pay and stuff, and like realize that like their bosses like livelihood is more important than like the paycheck at the moment, or B, they aren't people who are capable of realizing that, and fuck them, you don't need to worry about their paychecks for the next couple weeks. Okay. But one of those two things is true, and you need to find a place that's good and healthy for you, where you're not like always the stressed out while you're online making videos, because like this is not, you talked about like last fall that you were like at a place where you couldn't do it anymore. Now here we are in July and like you can't do it anymore. So like this is like a cycle that's like how often do you get to a point where you can't do it anymore, you know? How many, is it a cycle of, you know, how many views or how many followers or how many like you change in followers, or is it a cycle of, you know, is there a time of year that's harder for you that like maybe you need to post less videos in the summertime so that the fall isn't as terrible for you or something like that. But like I really hope that you find something that works for you. And I think that you need to evaluate where you are manipulating your audience, because like I said before, the line in the sand for me is I'm not going to support anybody, particularly on Patreon. I'm not any longer subscribed to his show, as you can see. I will occasionally watch your videos, but I'm not going to be the level of supporter of being a subscriber or a Patreon member of somebody who is willing to be friends with a rape apologist, rather than trying to change where my line is on that. If you want me back as a subscriber, as a Patreon supporter, you need to change your actions. And I think that that is something that you need to realize. And I appreciate you hearing me when I said, "Hey, look, all of our numbers, like all of the numbers that you see, every single one of those digits were a person." I appreciate you realizing that, and I realize that that has caused some stress for you, but like you need to also take care of number 1 first, right? So, take care of number 1 while realizing that the rest of those numbers are also people. Please.
And I am a person who is pretty full of fear for the future. But I will also say, like, the way that we got together this last week, when we fought together this bigoted business in Wyoming, that put a big old fire back in my belly, and I do not want to extinguish that fire.
Here's the thing. I watched some of that video because I really did get into Jimmy's content for the activism during the pumpkin saga. I think my one Twitter handle still has a pumpkin in the title, because I don't go on Twitter, so I haven't really like taken the time to change it or anything. But it's not, I couldn't even watch what his call to action was for this business in Wyoming. And I'm glad that he still has enough of an audience where he can affect change like that. But like, I couldn't be a part of it because I felt betrayed by his response previously to his actions. Like his response when people, well, he called himself out on his own actions, right? The way that he did that, and then his response to people left such a bitter taste in my mouth that I couldn't support him on this thing with the business in Wyoming. And I don't, obviously I don't support this business in Wyoming. For those of you who don't know, it's a biker bar that sells shirts that basically glorify a murder that happened that was a hate crime. I had such a bitter taste in my mouth that I couldn't help you out on that one, Jimmy. And if you want my help out on that, if you want my help in the future, you're going to have to like publicly distance yourself from people that do shitty things. You can't just be friends with people who do shitty things. I can't. You might morally be able to do that yourself, but I won't be able to morally support you doing it. So that's on you.
I want to get back to these things that matter so much. I want to get back to what is my activism. So I'm going to ask you all for a little bit of patience, I guess, also, in addition.
I don't know if I have any patience to give you anymore, Jimmy. And I'm sorry to say that. But like this video, this response, I might be all out of patience. I'm sorry.
Like I told you, I took a big hit mentally lately, and right now I'm going through a lot, which at the minimum is going to require some therapy to work through, and possibly some...
Stop talking about your fucking therapy. We get it. You go to fucking therapy. Quit using it as a like fucking pity me fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. Like that is like you are wearing my patience so fucking thin. Anybody who can afford to go to therapy should go to therapy, okay? The fact that you go to therapy is not a fucking crutch, okay? It does not make you a fucking paraplegic, okay?
Some other things. I'm working out what I need right now.
Fuck you. Sorry, I was trying to like make it through this entire video without saying fuck you to Jimmy. Didn't make it.
But right now, I'm going to do what I can while still backing off a bit on engagement and the like. So if I can ask a favor that might be a little audacious because of ways I had said it in the past.
But I'll listen anyway.
Could you please remember that I am a human on the other side of the glass, on the other side of your...
Jimmy, I have been remembering that you are another person on the other side of the glass the entire fucking time. You, Jimmy, you are the one who forgot that we are fucking people and not just fucking numbers. No, you may not ask me a favor. That was a fucking insult to our intelligence as fucking human beings. I will continue to treat you as a fucking human being because I believe that that is deserved by every fucking human in the world. Okay? Whether or not you recognize that, that's how I fucking believe it. I will continue to treat you like a fucking human. Because that is my morals, not because you fucking asked for it, because you do not fucking deserve a favor. That is an insult. That is an insult to my values and intelligence. Fuck you, Jimmy Snow. Fuck you.
Your phone, computer, whatever, and please give me a bit of time to rehab myself. I'm still going to be putting out content, but I'm going to try to schedule some breaks. And things on my end as best that I can. I hope that even if there are people that still disagree with parts of this and what I've done, that you'll at least appreciate I am trying. Almost crying gave me heartburn. This is worse. This is fucking everything.
Quit using your fucking emotions as sympathy. Quit it. Quit fucking trying to pull out fucking sympathy from us. You are still fucking trying to manipulate us, your audience. If you would have like actually fucking like meant it heartfelt, you would have fucking not said that first of all, and then cut that shit out.
Bad. Thank you all.
Fuck
Thank you. I know it's weird. I am bad at this whole like.
You.
This is another thing people point out, and this I kind of want to blame on the autism too. That like, there's just some stuff that
Quit it.
takes over my
Quit
mind
it.
as a
Quit
side.
it.
And I feel like
Quit
I have to say
fucking
it.
blaming
Anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody who heard me out.
Saying
Especially
for me.
Thank you to those who have made it to the end of this video, which is where we are now. I hope there can be some understanding, and I hope things can move forward.
Yeah, there is some understanding. You're an asshole.
I hope that there can be a positive place for me in the world and a positive type of activism.
I hope so too.
In it. Going forward.
I hope so too. I hope that you can look at this and evaluate that you are the fucking asshole here. If this is a fucking Reddit thread, oh my God, you are the fucking asshole, Jimmy. You are the fucking asshole. Weigh in the comments. Let me know. What do you think? Is Jimmy the fucking asshole here?
Fade to black.
Imperfect Foods.
Fade to fucking black. I'm not watching your fucking 5 seconds of a fucking commercial here. Sorry. Okay. How do you guys feel about that? I feel a little irate. How about you? Sorry. I did kind of lose it there at the end. I did try to tell myself that I wasn't going to be like, I really did try to make it through that entire video without saying, fuck you, Jimmy. But I lost it there at the end. I'm sorry, guys. I need to go make another coffee and like meditate a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. I might try and upload this in parts just so that you guys can watch it in parts on YouTube, but I don't know. Sometimes I have to like transfer the file directly because it's as long as it is, it might be too big for my editor. So I'll see if I can compress it. If not, thank you for watching. If you have watched all the way up until the end, thank you so much. Seriously, there's so much else that you could be doing with your life right now, and you chose to actually spend your time watching my video. So thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I don't have the mental energy to go on a raid right now, so I apologize to the Twitch stream for not sending you guys on a raid today. But like, it's just too much energy. I'm too upset after all of that shit. So, all right, bye guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later. Bye.